Well, it is the morning after the night before we have had the first semi-final of Eurovision 2026. And as a result, the 15 have become 10. We now know who the qualifiers for the final are. We know who was right. You've all seen the kangaroo twerk. And we've had one or two shocks as well. And today we're going to go through all of it. After that, we're going to move on to semi-final 2, where we are going to have my fantastic team in the hall describing to us the rehearsal in real time so we can tell you about the staging, who's done well, who's done badly, and it is super exciting. Then, following that, we're going to have a little break for a few hours. I have a video coming out this evening, which I'll encourage you all to go and watch, about the headlines of last night's show. And then we come on to the semi-final 2 jury show. Once again, Jay and I will be here watching it. We're going to let you know what goes down, who's good, who's not. And, well, we will see where things go. I'm already seeing attempts to one-guy me in chat, so I know you're all doing well as well. It is fantastic to see you. And obviously, we're going to have to talk about the production of the show as well, but we're not going to start there. We will get to it. So, let's take a look once again at our 10 qualifiers from last night's show. And they are, if it appears on screen, there we go. Belgium, Croatia, Finland, Greece, Lithuania, Moldova, Poland, Serbia, and Sweden. And additionally, sadly, someone else's spot was stolen by Israel for the third consecutively year. But I don't think any of us can say that this is a surprise. It was an interesting evening. I think there's a lot of reflecting to do. Thank you so much, Ingvild. Expect Jonas to save his voice this afternoon. Yep, I'm expecting the same. There's some I'm very happy about here, some I'm not so happy about here. But in general, I think we need to talk about the quality of the show that we received last night and maybe reflect on what our emotions are like today and how different it feels to normal. Because let's be honest, it does feel different. Quickly, a couple of people asking about guests today. There will not be guests today. We had a bit of a scheduling confusion with Satoshi, but it looks like he's going to be on tomorrow. So leave that with me and I'll work it all out for you. And hopefully he will be here tomorrow. Let's talk about some of the elements of this show. Firstly, the postcards were tacky. The green screening was dodgy at best. Not quite as bad as Turin 22, but it was very poor. I don't understand why all the artists were flown out to Vienna to do this, especially given that this is a contest that has made quite a lot of statements in the press about it being somehow how it's green in some way. I think flying everyone out to stand in front of a green screen is not exactly in line with that. They seemed soulless. There was no stories being told. I think back to some of the postcards that I've really loved. 23, for example, where you had the British landmark and the Ukrainian landmark, and it was almost like they'd been paired together. Stuff like that, which was really gorgeous. We had none of that this year. When it came to the hosts, I think our hosts are unfortunately wooden and unsympathetic. I think they don't sell the show well. I think they are probably the worst hosts we've had in quite a long time. Then we come to the script writing and the production. And this was, and thank you so much, Sasha, for the subscription. I don't know what happened to the script writing in this show. I don't know how all of these things got signed off. But to be honest, I thought it was appallingly bad. The sound for the songs was good, by the way, on the production side. And I thought, in general, the camera angles and so on during the songs were pretty serviceable. Not the best we've ever seen, but also well within a normal range. But as Book Brew says, overall, it was a genuinely horrible show. And yes, it did. It was competing with Turin. I think special derision has to be reserved for the Austria versus Australia interval act, which I think really illustrated that a lot of people have said no to performing in this show this year. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I'm baffled at so many of the script writing choices. It felt so weird and unnatural, and in general, it all came together with the on-screen graphics that were tacky and all these different things to produce something that just felt, cheap and half-hearted and flat. And I think in many ways it was very symbolic for the general state in which we find the contest. I've discussed a lot here about this and about the fact that many of our colleagues aren't here with us. And to be honest, I think, there is we have to be very clear-eyed about the situation we're in right now. Is that it's very obvious that the continued participation of Israel, the continued political strife that the contest finds it in as a result, is very severely harming the show. And obviously, that's before you get to the massive ethical concern of the fact that they are still here. It was just, it was so tacky and so cheap and so soulless. It felt like a show that was built without love, that was sort of managerially created with whatever bits were available, thrown together in a way that didn't feel particularly coherent. I didn't feel inspired. I didn't feel like there was, some kind of deeper, message or some kind of underlying love that was being put across here. It was just flat as a pancake, and that was really sad. Thank you to Blitters, who says, I believe there were less sound issues than in previous years, but personally I think that the inner ear mics may have been a little low. And Revbo, thank you. You say, as a poll running for Lithuania, seeing my two countries being revealed 9th and 10th almost gave me a heart attack. Don't worry, we will come to that, of course. Armin says, the 23 postcards showing the UK, Ukraine and competing countries will never be topped. I'm starting to feel better about boycotting official sources. This is the thing, is that I think for a lot of people who've chosen to sit the shows out this year, the decision is totally understandable, firstly. But secondly, I think it is when the show is like this, I think in some ways it was demoralizing a little bit. And we got that answer yesterday in the press conference from Martin Green, where he said, within the first 15 minutes, you'll find the show that you love. And there were glimpses of it, for sure. And I'll talk about some of those performances. But for the most part, it is becoming increasingly difficult to screen out the obvious existential threat that is permeating everything. And I have to say, from within the fan bubble and within the press bubble, the atmosphere is very different this year. On one hand, is it calmer? Yes. Calmer than 24, certainly. 25, obviously, I have a less clear idea because I wasn't in the press centre. Is it calmer for good reasons, though? I would argue no. In my opinion, you can feel the cloud hanging over everyone this year, and it's reached the point where you can tell people are becoming exhausted and worn down by it. And I think it reflects in the show, it reflects in the coverage, it reflects in every element of this. I don't love the contest any less than I did 3 years ago, and I'm sure every single one of you would say the same. But I definitely find myself affected by this in the same way that everyone else is. And, I hope the second semi and the final is different, but I don't have much confidence in that. I see this contest for how it should be in many of our artists. I see it in all of you when I come on these streams and we do this all together and we experience it together. The shows itself right now, I'm afraid not. Edward, thank you so much for the £5, says, when the hosts were announced, I asked a friend whether they were ORF's first choice or the best that they could get. I think I have an answer. Yes. It's not good. It's really, really, really not good. So we're in a sad position, I guess. Also, Edward, happy birthday. Everyone's saying happy birthday, so I presume it's your birthday. Or is it Megan's birthday? No, it's Megan's birthday. Happy birthday, Megan. And thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the super chat. We should be giving you presents, not the other way around. As for what happens now, I think there's a lot of stories we're going to tell today. We're going to go through the songs. We're going to talk about a lot of these narratives that have emerged. We've had some surprises which were big, and we'll talk about those. We can look at the performances. Now we are all on the same page. We've all seen the same things, and it's the first time in this entire process where 100% of what I know is what you know too, at least about these shows. Uzbek Spy points out we're the only previous contestants in the show, Vicky Leandros and Gojo. Yes. Yeah, oh dear. Ellen says, loved waking up at 5 a.m. to see ORF fumble the production so badly. Hosts cringe and wouldn't. Interval act low-key so offensive as an Aussie. I will say, I'm not going to say who. I asked the opinion of a couple of Aussies in the press centre what they thought of that interval act, and the looks I got back were ones of pain and embarrassment. So there we go. That is how it is for the time being. Nicholas Jackson says, would you still be watching this if it wasn't your job? And Cade says, finished my EPQ. Congratulations. And I'm glad I could help a little bit with that. No idea who will win. Thank you so much for your super chats. Would you still be watching if this wasn't your job? Is a really good question. And I've talked a lot about the fact that, you know, this is my full-time job. And that because I'm income dependent on this contest, that's obviously going to have an effect on my decision-making around it. I think if it wasn't my job, I would probably have a different perspective on having to go because I mean, essentially, and because of some personal circumstances, this channel has been not just my only income, but our only income in the last few months, literally up until the last week or two, actually. It has basically meant that there were certain decisions that had to be made based on the need to pay the bills first, and that, you know, obviously will have had an effect. I don't know exactly how different I'd feel. I don't know how differently things would have appeared on the channel and so on. It's quite difficult to put myself in that headspace because I've been so engrossed in this now for 5 months. But yes, obviously, I think it would have been different in at least some ways. People are claiming this. Someone claimed the stream broke. That's not true. I know when it breaks. I have an indicator down here. So do not one guy me. So we will continue. We should talk about the semi-finalists. We should talk about each in turn. And for that, I will get the list up, which is going to be on EurovisionWorld.com, as always. Where would we be without them? So, semi-final one. We're going to put them in running order. And we are going to see some interesting trends emerge. So we'll start from the start. And that was Moldova. And I'm going to run polls as we go through this because there's a lot of things to discuss. Moldova, I have to say, of everything in the show, this was the thing that gave me the most feeling of this is Eurovision as it should be. I found it so emotional and moving, and the way it all came together was just so, so beautiful. I really feel strongly that this is, this performance, it meant so much. It feels so powerful and joyful in a way I really didn't expect. And it's, I just think it's so perfect, and I'm so glad they brought it all together. And thank you so much, by the way, Jesper, who says, glad you have this job. Despite everything, I am too. I really believe in what we're doing here. Thank you. I appreciate that. There was so many things, in my opinion, that were brave decisions that came off here. I thought the shaky cam worked. I know there was some disagreements about this, but I felt the shaky cam worked. I thought it went down well on the night. I really felt great about Aliona's big dress again. Those kinds of references are just so nice for Eurovision fans who've been watching the contest for a long time to see. In addition, I thought it was a really powerful moment as well. She felt very kind of monolithic, and it really provided this nice tonic from the performance too. Neuro says it was a great opener. It could win the televote, and thank you for the donation. We'll come back to that, don't worry. And B says, I didn't know Jed would fuse to become the iconic Leslie Roy and represented us in 21. Jesus Christ, here's a 5 of compensation. Well, Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it was quite something, the fact that they didn't even spell the questions right on their Eurovision quiz that went on for a ridiculously long time while they bought time to sort out the results. I'm going to pose the first poll here. And that poll is going to be about Moldova. We'll have polls about many things today, so do not worry. Ask question. Can Moldova win the televote? And then while you're answering that, I'm going to give my verdict. So, we've seen some signs, and maybe I can show them on screen, that Moldova is coming on very, very strongly with the public. I've shown this a few times, but this is the audience poll that was taken on Monday night. And as you can see, Moldova did very well indeed. In fact, it won outright with more votes, than the two countries behind it combined. And those two countries were big favourites in the form of Finland and Greece. This was a shock to me, as it was to everyone else when it came out live on stream. I knew it for about 4 to 5 minutes before I could show all of you. And yeah, I was losing my mind. I am so excited by what this could mean. But at the same time, I have to say, it's still going to be difficult. There are reasons why winning the televote is a big ask at the moment. Firstly, is the presence of Greece and maybe Finland, as other juggernauts. You know, Moldova certainly isn't alone in competing for those votes from the public. The second thing is, of course, the indications we have suggest that Israel is going to once again produce highly suspect results that are clearly manipulated in some way. In terms of actually winning the contest, sadly, I think I'm going to have to maybe pour a little bit of water on that one. I'm not sure that is within the realms of possibility. You know I would love it. Bye, honey. Cynthia's just going off to the show. She's going to report back for us. You know I would love it. But it's just, I mean, it's not going to happen, is it, realistically? And I think that it's, the jury appeal will simply not be high enough. I think it'll do very well in Eastern Europe. I wonder whether there may be some snobbishness from juries in Western Europe that may prevent it. At the same time, we do, of course, have the factor that the contest has shifted eastwards this year. You know, we've lost 5 boycotting nations from mostly in Western Europe, and we've gained 3 all in the East, Moldova being one of them. So, maybe they'll do a little better than expected. We'll have to see. Overall, though, I think if you're a fan of Moldova, hopefully you found what we saw last night as joyful and emotional as I did. And then we will have to see how high it can go. The poll, I'm now going to close it, says 65% of you believe that yes, Moldova can win the televote. 35% say no. For the 35% of you, I would love to hear from you in chat just how high you think it can go. Personally, I think the sky is really the limit. So I'm just keeping an eye elsewhere, and I do want to report one little bit of breaking news, by the way. And V-Swede, thank you so much for the 65 krona. Who said, RF tried to piss in a bucket and even then they missed the mark. What happened? Yes, indeed. So a little bit of breaking news being reported by Aftonbladet, I believe, in Sweden. Austrian broadcaster ORF was not involved in censoring boos and chants during Noam Betan's performance on Eurovision's official YouTube channel. So that means it was an EBU decision, and we will talk about that later when we come to that point in the show. That's some breaking news. Just wanted to share it with you. Obviously, we are going to be discussing that at length today. I want to highlight this comment from Kolya, which says, as a Moldovan, I see so much support for Satoshi from our country. Never seen that, so there may be a lot of votes from our diaspora. Also, we are getting a lot of love from Romania and Ukraine. I do think we're getting 24 points for Moldova from Ukraine and Romania. I think, you know, Satoshi, he does actually speak some Ukrainian. He was at Vidbeer. There were Ukrainian celebrities taking to their Instagram stories to voice support for him during the show. I think, yes, there is absolutely going to be a strong groundswell of support from Ukraine. And Romania is much more obvious, in my opinion, when it comes to those points. Secondly, Lee, thank you so much, who says, is with a subscription, says, if Moldova wins the televote, it would be a total fairy tale ending. Thank God. Also, thank God I finished my first year of uni. Well, congratulations for finishing your first year of uni. Other people are mentioning, so there's things we also will talk about what was censored last night, because it's important we talk about it. And it's important that we don't allow that to be written out of the narrative by the fact that it has been attempted to be squashed down by the organisers. In terms of the rehearsal will be starting in 1 hour at 3:30. We will, of course, that's 3:30 Vienna time. It's currently 2:24. We will be going through it with you, of course. And we will have to see how things unfold. Moving on to the second qualifier in this show, which was Sweden, My System by Felicia. Now, I'm going to do a poll now. There may be multiple polls for this one, actually. But firstly, I'm going to ask this poll without giving you any other details. And then I'm going to explain why I'm doing this. Here we go. There we are. So, answer that poll on YouTube. What I will say is I felt that vocally seemed fine. They'd obviously brought the same package. There wasn't going to be many surprises here, was there, in any case? She showed up, she did the job, and duly she qualified. Last night wasn't her... She was better on Monday than she was last night, but I don't think it was a massive issue. She was still fine overall. But what I did want to talk about, and the reason I asked this question, was that 84% of you preferred it at Melodifestivalen. And I think this highlights the fact that while the production of the songs is passable, and in my opinion, there are other examples where they've improved from the national selection, which I'll get to, this is... Let's be honest, the Swedes are better at this than the Austrians. And I don't even mean that. I'm not saying that to shit on our hosts or whatever. I just think it's very clear that the production quality was so substantially elevated from one compared to the other. And it makes me sad that even with the new tricks, like the batting the lasers away and stuff, we haven't seen any kind of dramatic development, particularly. And as a result, I have to say, it made it underwhelming. That's nothing to do with Felicia, because Felicia showed up, she did her job, she did it well. But this was not at its maximum potential because of the production, and we know it because we've seen what it's like when it is closer to the maximum potential. I am curious, though, as to where people thought it might have finished in the semi-final. Again, it's going to be a poll. And so I'm going to put the question up now. So, where do you think Sweden finished in the semi-final? Answers: 1 to 3, 4. No, maybe just 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8. I'm not going to do 6 to 7, 9 to 10. There we go. Those are your ranges, and off you go. For polls on Twitch, I need someone else to do it for me. I'm not able to do polls on Twitch from here. The thing doesn't work for me for some reason. So, there we go. Here comes the poll now. 8th, Smokey Psiao. 6th to 8th. I'm avoiding saying the funny number. Jam System makes an important point. You have to remember, most people are watching it for the first time. They're getting the same feeling we got at Melfest. That is very true. And obviously, it's important to be conscious of the fact that 98% of the people who watch it on TV are not us, right? Haven't been following this all along. We are a small little community. Thanks so much, by the way. Miss Mermaid says, your streams are really cheering me up this week. The postcards look like the screaming cowboy meme. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So, I am going to give you about 10 to 15 more seconds to vote, and then I'm going to close the poll. And then we'll move on to the next entry. Obviously, we're going to go through each. We're going to see what went wrong, see what went right. I think there's some which will hurt more than others in here for some of you. And certainly some which exceeded my expectations. So we need to just give it a little more time. I'm giving you all plenty of time to vote today. And there are now polls on Twitch. Thank you very much to the Twitch mods. So I'm going to end the poll on YouTube now. 1% of you think that Sweden finished first or second. 37%, 4% say 9th till 10th. 37% say 6th to 8th, and 58% say 3rd till 5th. So on that basis, I guess the average position here is about 4.5 to 5. I would tend to agree. Thank you very much, Pixina, for the subscription. I really appreciate that. I think, to be honest, if I had to place this, I would put it sort of 5th, 6th kind of range. I think it was very well executed, and for that reason, it did much better with than Red Sebastian did in terms of, you know, how they put the performance together, how they made it accessible. I think Felicia was a better message carrier for this kind of music. The song was of higher value and of higher production value, and it was more coherent in my opinion, and it did all come together. Like I said, there's not much that surprised us here, but it was a definite improvement. Soda Videos, thank you so much, says, US viewer up early to catch the stream. Thank you for your advocacy for Palestine, for helping me get through the last week of my undergrad finals. Thank you for being here. You know, we're doing our best. I've not gotten everything right, I don't think, but I'm trying to continue to stand up for what is right, and use the platform that I have and hopefully some influence that I have to advocate for the right things. Dizo Live says, I'm from Austria. I mean, the show just shows how little money ORF actually has. Also shows that they are notorious in mismanaging the little money that they have. Here's the thing, right? Is I don't think this is necessarily about money. Because it's not just about the quality of it. It's about, do you feel that this was a production that had soul? If it was a bit shoddy, but it had personality, it felt like it had been done with love and care, and it felt, you know, somehow like it had a soul, I'd be forgiving a lot of the things that I've spoken about. The problem is that it doesn't give that impression. It gives the impression of, you know, trying to draw as little attention to it as possible, or just kind of phoning it in and doing what's the minimum. And it's the managerial nature of the feeling is part of what really upsets me, because it's just, there's no, you know, it's like I said, there's no soul there, and that makes it really sad. Some of the performances, of course, did have that, but there we go. Let's talk about the third song in the semi-final, and in turn the third qualifier. That was Croatia. And that was Lelek with Andromeda. And this is one that we were all expecting, but I think this was a fantastic performance. I really enjoyed it. I thought the camera angles were great. Vocally, they've been much more dialed in this week than I think they have been through pre-party season. And I think that's really great too. And, you know, we saw that clip and they expanded it out to the whole thing. I really thought the way it built in the last minute was so dramatic. Sometimes I feel a little bit with this song that it starts at sort of in terms of an energy level, it starts like 30% energy, and it stays and it sort of creeps up to maybe 35, and then very suddenly it goes to like 90. And when it happens so sharply that it maybe just for a second you sort of get thrown and then have to kind of pull yourself back again. Antson, don't worry. Thank you very much for the super chat. We're going to be showing that clip later, of course, because it's really funny. I feel pretty good about Croatia now. I think they could have really done very well with the jury tonight. I thought any worries that we had of it maybe sounding off or not coming together were proven to be incorrect. Some people disagree. I could see Hinga Tombehetk, for example, saying they are my favourite this year. But I feel like some parts were vocally iffy yesterday, unfortunately. I'm not sure about that. I think it was, I don't know, for me it seemed to fit. I need to go back and watch everything again today, and I'll do that this afternoon. just to have another look at it. But it's personally, I thought they did enough. Thank you so much, ESCJPW, who says, just bring in JJ to host at this point. He offered. Well, JJ, he's unproven in this environment. He's not hosted a show like this before, so maybe I understand. At the same time, he could hardly be any worse. So there we go. Good morning from Chicago, says Francesca in the USA. Have you seen the New York Times piece about how many votes it took for Israel to win the Spanish televote last year? Yes, we talked about it at length on the stream yesterday, about this time yesterday, actually. Or was it on Monday? But on Monday, sorry. And we went through it all together. We talked about it at length. We showed the graphs. We showed all the various different points. And we had about an hour-long discussion about the things behind it. I have to say that nothing there surprised me, of course. We've known most of this for a long time. And all it did was highlight, by bringing it all together in one place, just how severe this is for the contest and how statistically and probabilistically implausible the Israeli televote is. I mean, if you look at it, there's no way that one song scores 33% of the vote and no one else gets above 6 or 7 or 8 or 9%. And that is ultimately the biggest takeaway. I think we need to keep calling this out because what we can do, and thank you so much, ESC Luca, for the super chat. We have the ability to reframe this and to make it so that when people see, if they see a big televote score for Israel when it comes to this weekend, that they sorry, lost my train of thought. That the televote score that is received, people will go out and see it and go, well, that's not legitimate. That is the most important thing, in my opinion. I accidentally said 6-7 again. Honestly, I'm trying my best to avoid it, but every now and then it just slips out, and I only realise afterwards, and then I'm like, oh, no. Liam Turtleneck says, do you profit more from me watching on Twitch with Prime subscription or on YouTube with Premium? Want to support you best I can? I'm actually not sure. Twitch is pretty... Twitch is pretty unclear as to how much it pays, but any and all support is welcome and very appreciated. So just whatever works best for you. B, you don't need to add it to flagged words. It's fine. Let people have their fun. Yeah, so it's obviously, it's very sad. Let's talk about the next one. And this was very interesting to me because the reactions were extremely hyped or confused. Let's talk about the hype first. This was a performance that was very much a kitchen sink, right? We had many different props, many different things going on. We had dancers, we had scooters, we had augmented reality graphics in the air, all kinds of things going on, right? For me personally, I found it really endearing and fun and silly, and I loved how much was going on. On the other hand, there's a bunch of you in chat right now who found that it was too much, which is understandable. But the thing is that I would like to get an idea of where you guys stand as an audience on this. I am going to do the poll, of course. So there you go. Ferto was too much or just right. And I guess I will also throw in not enough. There we go. All right, here we go. Poll. Off we go. I'll give my 2 cents on this. I think because of the message of the song and everything, my opinion is that it kind of needed to be over the top and maximalist because it's a song about runaway consumption, about greed, about endless desire for more, right? So in a way, you should have all of this. You should have this kind of, it's so much that it almost becomes, like you've eaten too much cake, right? Because the song is about eating too much cake and about being materialistic and having these desires and so on. So whether that changes how you feel about it, I'm not so sure. But I think that's why, in my opinion, on an artistic level, I think the decisions made sense. At the same time, if you're watching this show just to be entertained, as many of us are, and ultimately when the live show is on, that's the same for me as it is for everyone else. It's going to feel this way. And there's not really anything you can do about that. The question is whether a big enough segment of people love it very much. So we're going to close that poll now. And almost identical results on Twitch and YouTube. 48% of you say it was too much. 42% it was just right. 10% of you say it was not enough. So I guess 10% of you will never be satisfied no matter what, because they couldn't have packed much more into that. I'm going to try and pick out some comments. Hey Chan says the message also isn't clear from the performance. He just seems goofy and fun and not against all these overwhelmed things. I know what you mean. Uzbek Spy says, I feel Achilles couldn't perform to his best because he was too focused on going to the next prop. Dratopia, thank you very much for the super chat, says, no offense, I get the idea and Achilles is great, but the final result is a bit kitchen all over the place. And Thomas and Orange says, thank you so much, says, on a different note, Israel would get votes for an empty stage. It has got that ridiculous. Well, it has. And we are going to talk about that at length. Do not worry. Blitters, thank you so much, says, I don't think he had the energy for everything going on during yesterday's performance. Hopefully better on Saturday. I would say, when it comes to the energy and so on, I'm going to defend Achilles a bit on this. And I know there's a lot of Greeks in chat as well who will hope that I have some hopium for them. And I do, don't worry. If you're in the position of a Greece or a Finland, in my opinion, you don't want to peak at the semi-final. I think you have a little room to do it at 90%, really lock in, use the opportunity to get used to it because qualification is essentially guaranteed in their position. So I wouldn't rule out that his energy will elevate through the week. We've seen this before where people really reach their zenith in the final. And I think the same could apply to Finland, and we'll come on to that. It's Orxa says, it was unfortunate that the subtitles were barely visible for me. Yeah, I think they could have framed those shots better so that we could have seen the same things that we saw before. And that we know when we listen to the lyrics. It was off screen quite a lot. You'd have to focus on it and know it was coming to read everything that's there. Also, because it's quite sparkly, it takes a little longer to read. Maybe. I think there is some very narrow possibility to shift camera shots a tiny bit between now and the final, but it's very limited. So I wouldn't expect any big changes. In any case, we will continue on to the poll for this song. And obviously, we are going to need to ask the question about whether it can win outright. So let's do that now. And I will say, can Greece win Eurovision? Simple question, yes or no. Do you think they are still in the running or not? I know my answer to this question. Now it's time for you to give yours. And so I'll give you another minute or two to answer that. And let's see how we go. Someone says, is the jury leak real? The answer is almost certainly no. I did see one alleged leak result. I would remind you all that we get allegedly leaked results every single year. They have always been wrong, totally wrong by a mile. And there has been nothing close, in my opinion, to accurate based on all of the different years of data that we have seen. So you've got a little more time to vote on that one. In the meantime, I'd love to hear more of your views on this and we can talk about it together. I think I'm seeing in chat a lot of people saying that their worry is with the jury side for Greece. And I get it. But at the same time, I think, to be honest, in a contest that's quite open, right? We don't seem to have a clear front runner that could landslide on both sides, right? So in that case, you get a situation where if you, a bit like JJ, hold up well in one side, as JJ did with the televote. I think he got 178 or so, and he could have won with 101. Let's not forget, and do strongly on the other side. In JJ's case, it was the jury. Then you can put together a winning score. For JJ, that was then his route. For Greece, it's the opposite. So they need to obviously win the televote. They need to do very well. And then I don't think there's any doubt about that. But just remember, every point they get from the televote, once they're in the lead, if they win it, is one less point they need from the jury. That said, I do think they need to be right up there. They need to either win it, or we need a situation like in 24 where both Ukraine and Croatia got more than 300 points. You need those kinds of scores if you're going to get right up to the top of the board. And is that possible? I still think so, yes. But it's going to really require people to connect on Saturday. So, I'm going to close the poll. And 60% of you, interestingly, say no, Greece cannot win Eurovision. And I am surprised. I have to say, I'm surprised that you have been so pessimistic on this. I would have thought that at least that the door was still open and that most people would be of that view. But I guess in this case, I was incorrect. In the time we still have left to talk about this song, let me just say that in any case, and Rosa, thank you for your super chat. I'll come on to it in a moment. I think the Greeks should be very proud of this performance. In my opinion, it's one of the strongest Greek performances we've had in years. Even though a lot of people feel that it is too much, I think it still is a faithful and good representation of this song on stage. And I saw a lot of commentary from Greeks before who were worried about what Fokas Evangelinos, who is the staging director, would do with this. Yes, he is, and in my opinion, they've done a good job. Let's just remember not to read in too much into the odds, and we will, of course, talk about that later. So, moving on to now the first sad one of the day for me, which was Portugal. Bandeiros da Canta with Rosa. And I thought their performance was very nice. I thought it was nice in the jury show as well, but maybe that was their ultimate downfall. It was just nice. Sorry, Rosa, I meant to read your super chat. Glad my country, Netherlands, decided to boycott, but luckily your videos and streams still give me that nostalgic Eurovision feeling. I'm really glad I can give that to you. And Diso, thank you so much for the subscription too. I'm kind of not surprised. I got some hope, and if we look at the qualification odds, actually, just to give you an idea of where things were for this song, the hope had actually grown to the point that, you can see them there in 10th, they were, by a thin margin, expected to qualify with the bookmakers. It didn't come true. Why didn't it come true? I think people just didn't feel strongly enough about it. I think it came in a very difficult point in the show. Being between Greece and Finland was always going to be tough for these two. But it's, this was not going to, this was always going to have an uphill battle. I think we'd held up hope for those who like this song, because I'm sure we can all agree that this was so different. And there are people who like this kind of music who might have, after, especially given that a lot of people felt Verto was too much, wanted to have something, just a chance to decompress, something that was a bit more of a relaxation, in my opinion. Phantasm says, love the killers, love the characters at the end, but all the fluff in between distracted from his natural charisma and charm. I will say, I do wish there was more focus on him, because there was so many different things going on. I do think that, I respect Portugal for going their own way with this. They have always done that. And I think, they shouldn't change anything about their approach. They were inventive with what they had. They didn't try to change the group, but rather play to their strengths. They knew they couldn't do too much movement. There was no point trying to get these guys to do some big choreo or whatever. It wouldn't fit the song anyway. So instead, they moved them around nicely and moved them into place. And to be honest, I thought they did the best they could have done. They can go away from this knowing they did what they could. Achilles was already at his best in ERT's basement box, says Nero. Well, I did really enjoy the national final performance, but it was obviously not fit for Eurovision. We should have a poll. I'm going to do it for each of these, where you think each of the non-qualifiers finished. So, Portugal finished, and then a question mark. And then we will see. I'm adding some options. I'm going to say 11th, 12th, 13th, And then 14th to 15th. Oops, sorry, 1 second. And start poll. There we go. Start voting now. I'm giving you loads of polls today because I feel like I've been quite stingy with the polls so far, and I think you guys deserve it. Been a tough couple of days after all. Yes, so I'll give you some time now to vote. On Twitch, they get 5 options, by the way. So if you do want to watch on Twitch, you can do that too. But YouTube limits at 4. Azalea, thank you very much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate that. So as a more general thing, I'm not sure if it's nerves or excitement of vocal performance or delay, says Charlie. I found vocal underperformance from a lot of the second half. It was strange, didn't sound like a vocal problem, almost like there was a production delay in their ear. That's interesting. I mean, there was some stuff in rehearsals. Tamara Zivkovic went slightly out of time in her rehearsals. Her jury performance was not good. And Sarah Engels had to performed again, or rather the stand-in performed again after the first dress rehearsal on Monday. I'm going to give you guys 1 more second to vote on that. I've got a tiny technical issue to deal with, but don't worry, it's very simple. Everyone promise to stay exactly where you are. I will be back in 60 seconds. All solved. Sorry about that. I am here now. I'm going to end the poll, and of the votes, 42% of you believe that this song finished 12th. 11th is 30%, 13th, 21%, 14th to 15th is 7%. I have to say, I agree with the majority opinion here. 11th to 12th seems like the right position. I'd love to know how close it was. I think we may have had a real slugfest for that final qualification spot, and we will talk about that in the near future. By the way, this is official Norway delegation merch. They gave this to me at LEP. It's not particularly high effort, but it was nice that they did it, so I figured I'd wear it today. There we go. Let's bring that back. So, very little faith in Portugal. We're going to move on to Georgia. And now we can officially say it's Bzova. It's very Bzova. It's totally Bzova. It is 100% Bzova. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, you all saw it too. It just didn't come together. There's a whole bunch of things we could highlight here. Things that weren't right, things that went wrong, things that clearly just didn't come together in the way that anyone had hoped. Yeah, I mean, let's start with the fact that, in my opinion, it felt like... So of the 3 of them, if I just... 1 sec, let's go into this for a moment. Of the 3 of them, why did it feel so much like... Let's just get a good shot of all 3 of them. This isn't a very good one. Here we are. So, I found throughout the performance, on one hand, you've got Georgie in the middle. He felt like he was really into it. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was on board. It felt like, for the others, their minds were elsewhere. They seemed distracted. They seemed... I don't know how to describe it. They seemed somehow... What's the word? Like they weren't into it. Like they were doing it as a favor to him rather than doing it because they wanted to be there. And I think it's really obvious when people aren't 100% committed to the performance. Like, if you're not perfect, but you seem like you're giving it everything, I think it does make a difference. And that was the case here. In addition to that, I think we have to be honest and say that the vocals weren't good either. Thank you so much, Fenia, who says, the Greeks stated who the designer is. Only the letters look AI. The designer must have used AI tools in the software for the letters. That's not to blame. I think that might be it, yes. Ramping Guy says, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, I've been aching for more gay polls. Thank God. We'll get polls about this. Gosh, thank you so much, LM Kempen, by the way, for the extraordinary €50 super chat. That's so generous. Thank you so much for all of you and your team's work. Watching your streams and ESC Tom's analyses brings me more joy than watching the shows themselves this year. That means a lot to me. Thank you so, so much. We're trying to do the right things. And hopefully all of you watching feel that we're making a positive impact on the contest and its future, because we do have a fight on our hands for where things are going to go. So, we'll do the poll on where Georgia finished. In the meantime, I think I'm just going to show a couple of bits of this and point out where I think things really went wrong. Let's add some options. Georgia finished... ... I'm going to put 11th to 12th as one option here, and then 13th, 14th, not 14th, just 14th. And then 15th. And there we go. So let me know where you think this finished. I'm going to have a little look at this performance. And so this is the thing, is that if you look at those wide shots and stuff, it feels so empty. I am going to quickly play for this bit, and we can play a very small snippet of audio, just a few seconds, but to demonstrate my point here is the vocals in the chorus. I mean, you can hear it, right? It's just not up to par. Their voices are not blending. And the thing I really found is that while with the individual singers, some of them sounded good, some of them not so much. It was kind of a bit of a mixed bag. As soon as you heard them all together, you could hear just how uncohesive it was. They just, it just didn't come together, and that was a real shame. I feel for them because I remember being really excited about this, and actually, this may be my earliest prophecy and curse that I've ever inflicted. In my video ranking the songs for last year's competition, I said about Georgia that maybe they should just bring back Bzikabi. So, my power of prophecy spoke it into existence, and then my power to curse everybody made it all go horribly wrong. It was like a monkey's paw finger curled. And so it's like, yes, we got Bzikabi, but with nothing like what we would have hoped. Everyone's saying it's all my fault. And yep, I'm sorry. It was me. In any case, and I can't, does it have to be this percentage? 67% of you think that it came last in the semi. Go on, have your fun. I feel like you did this on purpose. Oh, well. Honestly, I can't with any of you. 68% over on Twitch, at least. But it shows that you are all broadly in agreement with each other. God, the way in which every time that comes up, everyone's like, haha, time to say the funny number. Let's move on to Finland. And this is, I think, really interesting. Looking at this semi-final, how much of an advantage was it for Belgium to be over here, away from Finland? Whereas these four, having Greece and Finland around them, I can't help but wonder whether this made a big difference. Pixana, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, anyone else really sad they took away the newer tradition of ending of postcards where the artist poses in front of their name and music builds? Yeah, I mean, I thought the postcards were done without love this year. They were done as a thing that needed to be done rather than as a thing that could be a way of expressing, yourself and expressing the show. So, with Finland, I'm going to talk about this in my video later. There's been a lot of discourse, of course, over the season, some of which I think, respectfully, comes from the fact that they're favourites, and favourites are scrutinised, part of which comes from a more solid basis. I will say, in my opinion, and in the opinion of all the people I was with in the press centre last night, this was the best it has been. this was the best it has been. And I think a lot of the camera angles and a lot of the performance felt better than UMK. A lot of the shots just felt more deliberate. And I'm actually going to show you to give you some examples of this. Obviously, I can't play the sound. But we can take a quick look at it. In particular, some of you may remember that this shot here was one I was worried a little bit. Thank you so much, Evan Wright, for the Canadian dollars. Really appreciate that. Greece's visuals, yeah, we talked about them a lot. It seems like for the most part that it was human done, maybe with some little bits, but we don't know for sure, so I'm being careful about what I say. This shot, I felt in UMK like it was a shot where we were, need to remove the sound. It was a shot where we were just waiting for something to happen because it just sat still. Because we recede away from it before we turn, it just felt a little more sensible, right? It felt a little more deliberate. And some of those little shifts and things, in my opinion, just made it feel a little bit tight. I also think that a lot of the early shots were better. You know, I saw a side-by-side where actually I think Peter in the first part looks a lot better. The other thing, and I think lots of you will agree with this, I hope, Peter Parkkonen's vocals, in particular in the first verse and first chorus, were the cleanest they have been. Easily the cleanest they have been at any point in this process. And honestly, what I would say is that they're hitting their stride at the right moment. I still think it's not perfect, but when you see this trend of them, okay, they're getting more and more assured through rehearsals, it's sounding better, the production and the balancing of the violin and the vocal was better last night than it was on Monday night when I had my little freak out. I think things are coming together in a way that very much still makes it the favorite to win. I'm not overwhelmingly convinced about any song yet this year in terms of who is going to win. So it could go all manner of different ways. But at the moment, I am saying this is the way I had hoped it would be at this stage. It has improved and it's better. I want to do the look at the super chats. Bookboo says, not as good as I hoped, but I'm still proud. I think 100% Finns can be proud whatever happens from here. It was a really, really strong performance. And Marcus Autio says her violin, Linda's, is from 1780. I actually have a small little bit of information for you on that. There is actually a backup violin as well. So there is a backup violin, I believe it's on loan from the Finnish National Orchestra, that they carry around with them, because obviously she has to tune the violin right before she goes on. If they have a string break or anything, what they do is they tune both of the violins so that they can hot swap them if they need to. So they have a backup plan for everything. But so far, and hopefully it will stay this way, the backup violin has not been required. Of course, the only poll to offer here is, do you think Finland can win? So again, it's can, not will. Can Finland win? I'm conscious of what the result was for Greece. I'm going to compare that again once we've seen all of the semi-2 performances, so we can learn a little more. Black Country New Roads says, and thank you, welcome to your first time chatting. One thing me and my mum noticed with the other act, and not Finland, is that most of the acts were drowned out by the backing track. Not with Finland. Part of me wonders whether Linda playing the violin reduced that impact. It certainly made a change, and we should talk about the violin because, in my opinion, I thought the violin really added to it when it was live. Because I think it made it feel more real, and it made Linda feel like an equal or dominant partner in the performance. We should remember that this is a story of a man essentially being walked all over. You know, Peter Parkkonen in this, he's broken. He's fallen apart because he loves this woman and she, it's dysfunctional, right? They're having some kind of argument. She treats him badly. In some ways, the fact that it felt tonight, and this was the big difference for me, the fact it felt like she dictated the tempo. She was in charge. She was, the star in this. I felt like that actually contributed to it in some way. And it also really drew attention to the fact she was playing live. I'm going to give you some more time on that poll. And 100% people are, saying they really noticed the violin. I would turn it down a tiny little bit in the verses, just like a little smidgen. But I think that's the kind of thing you can adjust very slightly from show to show in the way you can't tear up all the camera angles and start again, nor would you want to do that. Interesting. Linnea says, I feel like she had more attitude in the UMK performance, and I actually disagree. I felt that last night was, because she was doing it for real and playing it live, I felt like she seemed more assured, more, sort of authoritative. It felt like she was at 100% before and went to 120 kind of feeling. And I thought it was really, really fantastic. There's a few people asking about whether Friday or Saturday is a priority for Finland. I think, obviously, vocal perfection on Friday is very important. If you're going to sort of find a time to really blast it on the vocals, that's when to do it. At the same time, because Finland is kind of balanced on both sides, in my opinion, they sort of have to show up just as well both nights. The other thing that I'm relieved for this is that much of these sort of wow moments were preserved. We should talk about the fact that someone was saying in chat, wasn't there one bit where you could see she wasn't playing live? I think there was one brief moment, yes, and obviously there's videos in the arena. She is playing live on most of it, but there have always been some bits that are on the record. They blend it quite well, but if you listen carefully, you can tell. You can definitely tell. So let's see what happens. I really hope, though, even though I was already really impressed, I hope they're holding back just an extra 5 to 10% for the final, because they can afford to do that. And hopefully they might well end up winning the whole thing. That would be really amazing, and I'd be delighted. So I'm going to close the poll now. 96% on Twitch and 92% on YouTube feel that Finland can win the Eurovision Song Contest. I doubt we'll get anything else as unanimous as that today. I think it would be an amazing result if that happened, and I'll keep my fingers crossed. Nero Cantata says, I'm way too Balkan-pilled to care about Nordics. Well, I care about this Nordic very much. And apparently the only portion that is pre-recorded is the bit where she's moving around the stage, and so she's not able to play. Do you think we might have a final win with second place in jury and telly? Yes, I think that is quite likely, and I think that would be a Finland route. Not many other people really have the ability to do that. So we're going to move forward. We are making a good pace at the moment. I want to finish this just after 3:30 so we can start talking about semi-2. That's when the rehearsal will start. And we'll be talking about that. Montenegro is next. A moment of silence. I don't know how to tell you about this, to be honest. For Montenegro, I really, really thought that she might be able to do it. I have to say, and this is going to hurt more, I'm warning you, what I'm about to say is going to hurt. My theory at the moment is that she will have qualified with the public. But her jury performance was so rough that is what has done it. I don't mean to twist the knife, and I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, certainly not, because I thought the performance, especially last night, was so much better. But you saw that jury recap clip too. Unfortunately, it just... all of you would agree. If you have big moments like that in the jury performance where you really lose your way, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble, and it's going to pull you out of that contention. From that moment, I was worried, and I think that is where things came apart. At the same time, I think we have to recognize that different delegations have different resources, and to be honest, I thought what the Montenegrin team put together was really impressive. They put together something that was competitive, which is not something Montenegro has done for a while. They are doing the right things. The national final was improved. The songs in the national final were improved. And 100%, if they stay at this, we're going to see them in a final soon. I really hope, really, really, really hope that they stay in this competition and that they don't give up now, because they've clearly made progress. This clearly did good things for tomorrow's career, and hopefully the broadcaster will hold on. Blizzard Boy says, I 1,000% believe, and thank you so much for the super chat, that Finland will win, and I want them to, but goddamn Moldova did well with the crowd and simply everyone. Underdog maybe. Look, I'd love for Moldova to be an underdog. I'd love it. I want to believe it, and for the televote, sure, I can get on board. But with the juries, no, I can't see that, I'm afraid. It would just seem to be implausible, in my opinion. So, instead of talking about with Montenegro, I think I want to leave this on a high, right? Because I think this is a song that means a lot to many of you, and we've seen it, and someone that we're proud of and who we've seen grow through this season. I think if you watch that performance last night versus the performance at Montesong, the baseline level that Tamara is operating at has clearly improved. She clearly grew a lot as an artist over this season. And qualifying, results, everything else, it's obviously everyone comes and wants that from the contest. It's not everything. And so keep supporting these artists, keep following them, keep sort of celebrating their work. That is, in my opinion, the key thing. Stephen wants a poll. Stephen, you can have a poll about where you think Montenegro finished. I am going to start that poll now. So, add options. Montenegro finished, ... 11th, 12th, 13th, or 14th to 15th. Not 14th to 25th. I guess it's still technically accurate, but there we go. And vote now. As for inviting Tamara for an interview, it's difficult to know because lots of delegations leave immediately. So there will be delegations who went out last night who will have had essentially the way the hotel rooms work and stuff. They have an option to break the reservations early, as far as I understand. And it's cheaper to break the reservations early and book flights at short notice than it is to stay for the rest of the week. Therefore, some delegations go home. Whether Tamara is personally still here, Stephen thinks that Tamara personally stayed for the final, but the delegation left. In that case, let me see what I can do. I'll maybe send a message on Instagram or something, because if the press team and so on have left, they obviously won't be able to help with that anymore. But it would be fun, wouldn't it, to give her a chance to come on here and see how much all of you guys appreciate her. It's awkward. Orkza says, and thank you so much for the super chat. Do you think that there are too many producer choice spots in the final? Right now it's 25, 25, 50, with 50 being producer's choice. Let me say something controversial. I don't know if you guys are going to like this. If you're going to do what they're doing with the producer's choice, abolish the draw entirely and just let the producers decide the running order. I really think this middle ground is a silly way of very slightly influencing the running order of the show, while sort of trying to be a little bit coy about the honest thing that the producers basically get to do whatever they want. They have a very limited restriction for half of the songs. Honestly, whether you guys like producer-chosen running orders or not, I think many people who would prefer a random running order than this system would also prefer just producers. Because at least that way, it feels more honest, It feels like a bit of a gimmick. And I never talk about the running order draw because I think it's, most cases, not that relevant. In some cases it is. And obviously we will have to see about that. So we will see. Like I said, I promise you I'll write to Tamara. I can't guarantee I'll get a response. And if we don't, I think it's very understandable. A lot of people will be hurting and might not want to come and talk about it afterwards. At the same time, I would really love the opportunity to celebrate some of the things that she's done in this experience together with her. So let's move on to the next one. And I have to tell you guys something. It was camp. It was fun. I actually kind of enjoyed it live. I would like to show you my favorite camera shot of the entire show last night. Let me find it. Give me a second. Let me track it down. So, here we are. So, everyone, get a load of this. This is an actual shot from an actual camera taken during the performance. And honestly, in some ways, I have to say, I feel like this made it better. I feel like it made it better because it was so silly and trashy that, of course, the camera broke halfway through. It was like the icing on the cake. The other thing I can tell you now, and you guys might be a bit sad when I tell you this, that it didn't qualify. I spoke to the Estonian head of press before the show, and we agreed that if Estonia qualified, Vanilla Ninja would come on stream and I would give the promised apology to their faces live on stream. And sadly, we're not going to get that. That would have been so much fun, but I also really appreciate the Estonian delegation for having a sense of humor about this. I love those guys. That would have been such a fun moment, and I think all of you would have found that very funny. So maybe you should have voted for Estonia. I have to say, even though it was fun, now we've come out this side of it, I would really have loved to have said that this deserved a place in the final, but I think we have to say that the 10 songs that qualified were objectively, sort of a higher standard and quality with respect than this was. That's not to say it wasn't fun. It was. I actually really enjoyed it. And thanks, Nero, for the $2 pointing out the similarity to Turin, which did something similar with its cameras. It just, I think, with the obvious exception of Israel, as people are talking about, this didn't deserve to qualify over anyone who did, in my opinion. I appreciated it in the end. I thought it was fun. It was better than I expected. And it added to the show, right? It gave us a nice little bit of to try and shake it off and stuff. And the slow motion kick was fun. All of those things were really, really cool. But I think we do know that it wasn't going to happen, was it? It wasn't going to happen. It was entertaining entertain for 24 hours. Jay had it 7th in his prediction. But yeah, no, not going to happen. At the same time, I'm curious to know what people think of this. And I'm going to do 2 polls for this. Yes, 2. And by the way, you all seem very convinced that Montenegro came 11th. So let's have a look. What we are going to do is, what I'm going to say is, after the live performance, I liked Estonia, ... more than before, less than before. Because I will say, the number one positive that we saw, and it was the same for a few of them actually, is that the live performance improved it a lot. I really, really enjoyed it when I actually saw it. And even though I'm never going to like the song, I think I will now never listen to it again in my life. It was just, yeah. It was just maybe a little too silly, a little too low quality. I'm sorry, I've not given you a fence-sitting option of the same. It has to be more or less, I'm afraid. At the same time, it was a bit of fun. I think, to a certain extent, there's some entries where I almost want to detach them from the competitive question, right? And just sort of say, did we have a nice time? Did they have a nice time? I think they did. They were also joking in the media afterwards that they said, well, look, we did Eurovision 20 years ago, we did it now, so we'll come back in 20 years. So evidently they've had a fun experience. I think generally delegations are very conscious of the odds and of the chances. I think the Estonians were very realistic about where they stood. They were hopeful, but they were ready for all outcomes and they were mentally prepared. In addition, the thing with Vanilla Ninja, they've been, like I said, they first did this 20 years ago. They're familiar with the Eurovision experience. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we have some very young kids, right? We have people, teenagers participating in these contests. These guys, their brains have fully developed, they're mature, they have support systems with each other and their friends, which means they're going to be just fine. So yeah, I am prepared to say, ninjas, we are very, very happy that you were here. So I'm going to end the poll now. 72% of you said that you liked it more than before. So for that reason, I would say that is a success. As for what comes next for Estonia, there's some artists I would love to see in Eesti next year. There's this sort of folk-ish, pop-ish band called Sadu, which would be really amazing. You should definitely look those up. I think that it would be really nice to see. Alina Born is entering a bit of a new era with her music. I would really love to see her come back because when we first saw her, she was so young. Now we can see her more developed. And I mean, she was stunning when she did it in 2015. I think that's a real returnee I would love to see. I would also love to see Anne Marlin, people are mentioning, but I think Anne Marlin needs a bit of a reinvention. She can't do the same thing again. She has to develop in some way. Ollie, I think, needs another year off. We need to see something new from him. The Estonians have made it very clear they're never going to send him to Eurovision doing exactly what he's doing at the moment. Though I would love to see it someday. Rusty Gizmo says, did you notice they were pushing United by Music a lot? Like someone is trying to convince themselves everything is fine when it isn't. Also, Moldova was so much fun. Had the Eurovision love. Yeah, completely agree with everything you said. I mean, I think I'll talk about United by Music at some point this week in general, because I feel that they took something beautiful and it doesn't, it's an empty vessel now. It is an empty vessel. So you're also going to get a poll on where Estonia finished in the semi-final. Let's see. And again, we're going to have 11th, 12th, 13th. Yep, 14th to 15th. And start poll. Beep. There you go. Vote now. By the way, we are, of course, covering the Semi-2 afternoon dress rehearsal today. That is starting in 10 minutes. So we're going to go through these final... Oh, gosh, we still have 6 countries to go through. Well, one of which is a very different discussion to the others. So we'll continue with this until we get to the end. By that point, I imagine the first song will be starting. I'll also let you know what the interval acts and so on will be saying. Yeah, I should say, actually, people are correcting me. I should say, yeah, 5 countries and 1 interloper, I think, of these 6. Everyone hates the guy that no one wants at the party, but keeps showing up anyway. Even more so when they are then massive asses about it. And I think that's very much what's happening. 50% of you say that Estonia finished 13th. And I think that is probably a fair assessment. I would say Montenegro and Portugal feel like the ones that were on the bubble, and this one just behind them. Sadly, Israel is in another Eurovision final. I think we all saw this coming. Didn't make it any less miserable seeing it happen in real time last night. And I have to say, I'm not going to be showing you anything about the song. The song doesn't deserve musical analysis. There is really nothing I have to say positive about this. I think, is it going to win the contest? No. That doesn't mean we can keep living with this sword of Damocles over our head every year, because eventually they will. If we keep doing this, eventually they will, if this stuff goes away. I think we're going to see another illustration this weekend that Israel, on the grounds of both ethics and on the grounds of the competition's integrity, has no place here. It has no place here, and I think we all already know that. I think more than ever, the bubble in which this contest exists here in Vienna feels like there's this almost tacit acceptance everywhere of this, you know? And yeah, for me, I just feel sorry for whoever was 11th in the semi-final who had their place stolen from them. And I feel sorry to our friends from Spain and Iceland, the Netherlands, Ireland, and Slovenia, who should have had the opportunity to share their music and their joy and their culture with us, but felt they were unable to do so because of this one thing. And I want to say to all of you who aren't watching the shows, I absolutely support that position. I think it's very reasonable and understandable that you are doing so. And I also want to say, while I'm at it, there's a particularly personal thing for me this week. That was a siren outside. There was a fire engine or something going past. I have to say, and I've seen some of them in chat already, so I'm going to speak directly to the Israelis watching. Maybe you could just have a little sympathy for the fact that I have felt extremely strongly about this week, given the very large volume of threats, and death threats, in fact, that I've been receiving from Israelis this week, simply for speaking my mind on this. And so I think it tells to all of you watching, it tells you everything you need to know, the volume of abuse that I, and I'm sure many of you, have received when you talk about this issue. Just remember, they're telling on themselves. They know deep down that we're right about this. And so they respond with aggression. Hasn't changed my position. It will never change my position. I'll never give in to threats like that. But Israel doesn't belong here, and neither does that kind of behavior. The people who this is about know who I'm talking about, and you will not turn me down. I think the thing is as well, it makes it all the more important to highlight that while I'm here, to really illustrate the conduct of some people and the way in which some people behave. I get criticism from lots of other places. Some of it I really disagree with because I find it personal or people attacking me in some way. But I will say, even to the people who really strongly criticize me, none of them, except in this case, have ever stooped to that level. And nobody ever should. Olga, thank you so much for your membership and saying, we know you speak the truth, and they also do. There we go. So let's wish for a contest next year that is free of genocide. And let's keep going today so that the stories of these other artists are not drowned out by the selfishness of one delegation. On the bright side, now I've said that, all the people who support that behavior will have left. So good news, guys. We're in much better company than we were 10 minutes ago. Kijan, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you. So next we have the biggest positive shock of the night. First, I'm going to do a poll. It's time for some honesty hour. Did you expect Belgium to qualify after the performances? Yes or no? Time to be honest. Thanks so much, Pippintastic, while we're voting for the £10 super chat. Says, really difficult for me this year. Don't mind the song, but God, is it just a stain with everything behind it? It's not to do with, this the thing is, ultimately, it's not about the song. It's not about the artist. It's about the things that stand behind it. It's just so obvious that we're not participating in a fair environment. It's so obvious that it's wrong. Everyone feels it. You can feel the discomfort everywhere. And I think it's spread further and further over time. So you've got some more time to vote for this. I'm going to leave this open a little bit so everybody has an opportunity. People are asking me to do the Asila shuffle. I will at some point, I promise you. Not yet, soon. In the meantime, gosh, my voice is already crackling a little bit. I might need to get myself a bottle of water soon. I have an empty bottle here. I just need to go and refill it. In fact, I'm going to do that now. While you guys finish voting, let's talk about Belgium. I have to say, I'm with the vast majority of you, and I hope you can still hear me well while I'm over here filling up this bottle, that felt it was really not likely that Belgium would see this through. I'm more than happy to hold up my hands and say, I was wrong, because I was wrong, as per most of you by the looks of it. There we go, got some water now. Belgium, how did this happen? I have a theory. I'm going to put that to you. Because the 75% of you that said Belgium wouldn't qualify, I was one of you. I was in the same position. So, here's the thing, right? She needed to offset the weaknesses of this performance, which we discussed about choreo, lack of movement, although to be fair, it was a little better last night, I would say. 81% said no on Twitch, by the way. I think what she needed to do was deliver really securely on the vocal side, and then secondly, hope that people in Europe more generally got on board, right, with the style of the song. Because it's, it's unchallenging, it's, it's solid, right? That's the thing. But it was just solid, I think was a lot of people's views. I've seen the super chats. I'm going to come back to them in a moment once I've finished my point. I will say, I think she earned this by delivering two of her most secure vocal performances of the whole season. And I think that's what got her over the line. I think this will have been a narrow miss with the public. I think this is the thing. Montenegro was in with the public. I think Belgium was more in with the juries. And that will have pushed them over the line. Because Montenegro, I think, will have been quite low with the juries. We will do a poll on where Belgium finished in a moment as well. I think it came together. This is very, I can see a few people being like, it sucked, I hated it. But we have to admit, we have to give her her flowers. She did what she needed to do. Think about where we were with the voice performance a couple of months ago, where she really, where it wasn't good. It really wasn't good. And she admitted it that herself. And yet, it all came around. Also, she did the shuffle well. Yes, indeed, she did a little. The best bit of the performance for me. We were all doing the Asila shuffle in the press centre. In support of her, I should say. Lots of opinions on this, and I'm going to quickly go through. Katerina, thanks so much for your super chat. Saying thank you for speaking out, and obviously death threats are unacceptable. Yeah, 100% really appreciate you. Eliminator also thanks me for the coverage. Thank you so much for your support. And the same for Tony Timetable. Thank you. And Niall as well. Or is it Nihi? I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. And I'm really glad that seeing what you guys are saying is quite similar. The point I wanted to bring up is the one that Kotbuller put in his super chat, which was Belgium is like this weird four-dimensional object in Eurovision. In the last 3 years, they've been predicted to qualify comfortably twice. They were considered DOA once this year. Let's remind ourselves of how bad the odds were. Belgium has now confounded the odds 3 years in a row. 14th in the odds, 28% chance of qualifying, not considered to be in with much of a chance, and yet found a way. And that is, for me, certainly, I think something that it's nice, I think it's nice, even in cases where it's not a song I love or something that I maybe didn't regard as a finalist, that that you get proven wrong and that the work comes together in such a way that people do connect with it. I think we can criticize individual things to do with how we feel about the song, while also celebrating what is clearly success, what was clearly good work, because you don't qualify and you don't get this stuff done. Sorry, I've just got some dust on top of my webcam. You don't get this stuff done without pulling things together. Julia agrees with my summary. Thank you for the 22 Turkish real. We've got lots of different currencies today. Says Montenegro's voice, not well, but Belgium delivered. Julia Rabinovich, thank you for the super chat, but I completely disagree with the premise of what you've said. I say that respectfully, but I completely disagree, completely disagree. And I think what you're saying is justifying things that are unforgivable and unacceptable. Hobbit, thank you very much for the €5. Says, I feel like she could never win the ESC bubble over. Everyone wanted Notte, and many people took the disappointment out on her. I do think the thing, and one of the reasons why people were so negative about it was, I think we did have really high expectations, because Loic would have been incredible. Those rumours were, from my understanding, I don't have a really strong connection to the situation. There was, at the very least, conversations, right? At the very least. But beyond that, clearly it didn't work out. It wouldn't surprise me, given everything happening, that wouldn't want to go this year. We're going to keep going on, and I'm just going to try and see if I can... There we go. I'm just going to press that button. I'm afraid I've removed one of the super chats from visibility, just because... I think it's the sentiment is totally unacceptable that was expressed there. Totally unacceptable. And if you saw it, I'm sorry. If you didn't see it, honestly, best not to know. You heard me discuss it. That's all you need to know. So let's proceed. And the show is starting shortly. I am starting to get updates from my team. They're doing a skit to open, and the skit is like Wasted Love, but rather fittingly with everything going wrong. So it's like a sort of fake, everything's bad, and they're trying to reenact it, and it's a disaster. I forgot about the poll, apparently. I do need to do the Belgian poll, you're right. Sorry. Oh. So, Belgium finished. ... And we're going to go... What answers were there? I'm going to go 10th to 9th, 8th to 7th, because I feel like higher than that seems deeply unlikely. And then I'll do the 6th to 4th, and 3rd to 1st. And 3rd to 1st. Apparently, I'm in a Danish news article for saying Søren can win. So if you have that article, if you send it to me on Twitter, I'll keep an eye on my message requests. And so I will. I'll have a look at that. So while you're having that vote, I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about Lithuania. I have to be honest, I got a little shaken about this and I got worried. I was concerned that because he was pushing himself so hard in both his performances, it started to, there was an element of it. It became raspy. It seemed to almost like flame out a little bit. I still loved it. I still found it powerful, but I worried that others might not feel the same way. I was so relieved when they called his name. So relieved. Because just for a moment, I thought that it was, that it would, get lost. And that obviously freaked me out because I love this song. I put it in S tier in my predictions. It all came together. I'm curious to know how you feel about it. I'm seeing some comments in chat that he was unwell. If so, now, good. He has a couple of days. I hope they lock him in the hotel with lots of honey and lemon tea and get him well. I will say, by the way, a lot of the lighting was imperfect all through the rehearsals. Last night, it did finally come together, which was really good. By the way, overwhelmingly, with more than 83% of the vote, you think that Asila came either 9th or 10th in the semi-final, and I think that is the likelihood too. At the same time, 10th in the context of the semi-final is just as good as winning the thing. You still go through. All you have to do is get over the line. Get over the line. She did, and get over the line. So did Lithuania. Wow, to the person in chat who posted a load of Israel flags, you sure really showed us there. Wow, we've all completely changed our minds now because you've done that. I'm sure that was a good use of your life. Blue Angel, thank you so much for the donation, says Lithuanian performance was surprisingly powerful. Do you think this has a dark horse shot? I'm never saying Lithuania is a dark horse after last time. Never, ever again. At the same time, what I will say is that I think it had the appeal that I hoped it would. I said it was going to be divisive, and I genuinely believe it was. I think there's going to be a lot of people who found it weird or uncomfortable or didn't understand it. But I think at the same time, on the flip side, people will have enough of people will have connected with it and gone, wow, this was really interesting. It was really, a fascinating thing to watch, right? And it was, compelling. That, I think, was, enough people thought that to bring it through. Blitter said you could see in the clip when he noticed his voice was going. I mean, this is the thing, and I remember he was so reliable at the Lithuanian national selection, for example, that it was quite a new situation. I do think now that he's come through this, if he gets that well-deserved rest, and now you get to Friday and he has to do the jury show and so on, he has some time to clear his head, rest. I think he'll be more confident having come through in difficult circumstances. That kind of thing makes you feel better for next time because you feel like self-belief. And I think as well, when you qualify, you feel like other people believe in you too. We should just check in. And I want you to know that apparently the opening act for semi-final 2, which is on right now, and we're keeping an eye on that while we go through the rest of semi-final 1, is Quote, like unfunny American humor. They're emerging from the prop. Victoria is wearing a stunning black dress. Jay says, God, these hosts are bad. Cynthia says, I've zoned out already. So, solidarity with our team who are putting themselves through this. And there we go. Interestingly, Justa in chat is saying that there was some problems with the in-ears for Lion as well. So, lots of reasons to be optimistic then. In suboptimal conditions technically, in terms of his health, he came through. He delivered, he got the job done. And so, for fans of this song, feel good about this is what I would say. It's not going to win. It's not going to get close to that. But I'm still feeling my original prediction, which was in that little envelope of 8th to 16th that we had before. I'm going to do a poll. Don't worry. Let me just scuttle over and write it. Blitzers, thanks so much for the $2, says, friends didn't notice the vocal stuff, and he did a great job covering. There we go. All right, here we go. Start poll, and it is where we think Lithuania is going to finish. Where will Lithuania... Where did Lithuania finish? And the answers are... Again, I'm going to do 10 to 8, 7 to 5, 4 to 3, 2 to 1. And thank you, Liam. I'm keeping an eye on Twitter for the article link. There we go. So... Oh, Politiken. Oh, yes. Oh, actually, oh, wow. British expert said... I actually spoke to this journalist, so I will hopefully be able to get a proper link to that, and I'll hopefully be able to show you it later. But yes, no, I did speak to that journalist. I've actually... One thing that's been new this week is I've had a lot more requests for comment from different outlets in various different places. I did an interview with an outlet this morning that I'm not going to disclose. I did one, the EBU asked me for a comment on something as well. And then also I gave comment to Politiken in Denmark, which you've just seen. So a few different ones this week. DTIHD says, and thank you for the $11.99 super chat, says, what is also to be considered that the Netherlands vote on Belgium because they have a connection. Belgium is always a dark horse that has qualified often for the final. Well, they didn't have that on their side this year because there was no Netherlands. I mean, obviously the Dutch could do the rest of the world vote, but are they going to vote in big enough numbers? Because the Dutch viewing figures was really not good last night. Black Star, congratulations on the funniest joke of the day. He says, Israel wins because it's the country of peace and human dignity. If you're going to post rage bait, at least make it good rage bait. Funny joke, though. Yes, I mean, like Israel is the country of peace and human dignity in the same way Boy George is the ambassador of not chaining people to radiators. Thank God he's gone home, by the way. Let's talk about that next. By the way, you think predominantly the result was different on Twitch, but because the numbers were much bigger on YouTube, I'm going to go with that poll result this time. 10th to 8th place is where you think. And by a pretty clear margin. I think so too. I think the potential was higher. I think what we got in this semi-final put it in that envelope. But there was enough about it, clearly, to get it through. Moving on to San Marino. And I'm going to see if I can find... There's a video somewhere of Boy George just sitting there waiting. And while I'm looking for that, we can tell you about the first song. Because Dara Bangaranga has just taken to the stage in the arena. And I'm going to tell you what our team on the ground has to say about it. So, Bulgaria postcard is here in a library. Historical queen, says Cynthia. She has a big prop of a room, which could be a waiting room or a cafeteria. They're starting with dancers doing headstands. Then they're all sitting on chairs in a row, head banging on the chairs to Bangaranga. Lots of chair dancing, so it's very silly. She says it's quite memeable. The prop moves around in a circle in the second chorus. And then they wear the chairs as hats. Then the prop was moved apart. There was lots of dancing. And then we hit the rehearsal clip that we've already seen. Absolute fire. Absolute Bangaranga, says Cynthia. See you later, Radiator, says Algis. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Lithuania had the biggest contrast to San Marino, says House of Nando. And thanks, House of Nando. I've seen your tweets as well where you've been supporting me, and I really appreciate you very much. I need to find that Boy George sitting because it's really funny. Let me see if I can remember who posted it. Give me a second. There it is. So, courtesy of Liv from Aussie Vision, I have got something quite amusing to show you. So, you wonder what Boy George is doing for the first 2 minutes of San Marino's performance? If it loads, here it is. He's literally just sat. He's just sat in there, waiting. While the performance is going on. For some reason, it's not playing, but it is literally just this. He sat there for 2 minutes, doing nothing, waiting for it to open so he can walk out and sing his 2 lines. And, unsurprisingly, it didn't qualify. And I think it probably wasn't close. This performance, let's face it, Senate, silly, fun, charismatic. She always has been. But the song and this feature, why? Why? How? Boy George did not unfollow Senate on social media. That was not true, that tweet. That's misinformation. Is it working yet? No. Okay, never mind. You'll just have to believe me. We'll go to the poll. We will go to the poll. Start poll. There we go. Add options. Right. So this finished. San Marino finished. And we're going to go 11 to 12, 13, 14, 15. Start poll. There we go. So, let me know what you think. Let me know where you think this thing actually ended up. What's curious, right, is if you look at the odds, this made a little bit of a late surge. It was last for a really long time. I mean, look at that. Literally last the entire time there were qualification odds, then went boop just before the show. Had just a little rally and then didn't work out in the end, huh? Did it? House of Nando, thank you so much for the super chat, says, watch Senate return another time with another washed-up celebrity as a surprise guest. This is her brand now. The thing is that if she'd showed up with this song and no guest, I wouldn't have minded it. I would have thought it was camp. I thought would have thought it was silly. I still would have thought it wouldn't have qualified, but I think we could have been there for it, right? I mean, let's be honest. How many of us would have enjoyed this song on some level if it was just Senate? I would say I'm one of those people. And yeah, Julia, completely agree. Thank you for the super chat. This had more of a chance without Boy George. So we are waiting for some more news from the arena. Obviously, Dara has been on stage already. And Aussie Vision say that for Bangaranga, the clip we've seen is the least interesting part of the staging by far, which is a good sign. We're also going to be keeping an eye on James's comments. Lady Amphi, $5 Australian, thank you so much, says, when you realised that Flow Rider did more for a Eurovision song than Boy George. Because Flow Rider clearly knew where he was. And I actually thought the Flow Rider feature was way more fun, way more silly, and way more like carefree. This one felt pointless and tacky. Flow Rider was like, that's really funny. I have to find another clip before we move on to the next one, because I want to make you aware of something which is hilarious about Alicia from Poland. About an interview she did at the red carpet. Red carpet, it's turquoise for sponsorship reasons. Also, you all think, basically, 80% of you think that it was either a 14th or 15th placed finisher. Come on, where is it? Let me see. Can someone send me the link? If you know what I'm talking about, send me the link. I would like to surprise people with it and not give it away if you haven't seen it already. Nick Johan official says, I'm predicting Senate featuring Miles for Eurovision 2027. I mean, it could be anyone. At this rate, we're going to get Engelbert Humperdinck, which is who is still going, by the way. Although I think he's now no longer performing. Where is it? I'm scrolling down your profile, Stephen, to find it since you said you retweeted it, and I can't find it anywhere. Oh, good. You've sent me a link. Thank you. See, this is... where would I be without without all of you. Thank you. Okay, opening it up. This is, in my opinion, one of the funniest interview clips I've seen this entire week. I'm going to put it on screen now. She just walks away. Oh my God. I love this woman. And also, she really deserved to be in this final. Let's be real. She absolutely fucking earned this. She sounded great. They staged it exactly as they should have done. I'm never going to change my opinion on the studio version of the song. I am never going to choose to listen to that song. But wow, like she really delivered maximally on every single front. Fantastic job. Poland should be very proud of this. House of Nando says, watch the entire clip. I marked you in it. I'm not going to play the entire thing because it might get content ID'd or something. So I just want to play a little clip. But I showed the source on screen, so I sourced it as well. So if you want to look at the interview and have a good laugh, it is out there. I think vocally one of the best of the night. And I'm actually going to ask the question about whether she could have been in the top 3 or 4 with the jury. We saw that the audience really got on board with it the other night. And I think it's important to recognize real quality when you see it. And we saw it with this. Evan, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, first Eurovision I've followed in 3 years. Your stance on Israel and the way you speak about it really helped me enjoy this while keeping the realism. I do want to try and maintain that space because there's going to be a Eurovision at the other end of this. Eurovision will survive, I think, in basically any circumstance. When Eurovision gets to that end point of this current situation, and it will come eventually, I really strongly believe that all of us need to be in the position to define it. And we can do that by, like we've talked about, preserving the things that should be preserved. Nicholas Jackson, 2021 Gabe, San Marino, dark horse to win it all. Thank you so much. Sorry for missing your super chat. The thing I have to admit is actually, yes, I did briefly get on that train where I was like, San Marino could win in 21. Can you imagine? Total delusion for years. We have some more news for you. Azerbaijan, Jiva the Diva. She is on a train in the mountains, and the LED screen shows a white sheet displaying people on it in black and white, and then she pushes that character away. Apparently, according to other things, it was very flat. It was very boring. So it's what we expected. Blitters, thank you so much for this super chat. Says, swear I'm the only one who liked the rap bits in Poland and would prefer they removed the in my ear a bit, but still needed to be 2 songs together instead of 4. She did a great job, though. It definitely felt less disjointed in the live performance. That was one of the big successes of this. I am more than willing to hold my hands up and say, I wrote this off wrongly and Alicia deserves my applause and everyone else's. What can I say? I liked the verses. Blue Angel, thank you for the super chat, says, was anything flagged about the naughty language in the Polish song, or would that have already been green flagged? All of that stuff is checked before. All of that stuff is checked before. What I can say, and I think you guys are going to be very excited about this, before we talk about Serbia, I have the news from the rehearsal of Romania, which is, the postcard is in some museum. Props for instruments have wires everywhere, lighting up in different colours. So those wires light up in different colours earlier in the performance. You start on the catwalk, which is some of the stuff that we've seen. There is a cloaked figure, which is back on the main stage. She's trying to walk down the catwalk and trying to pull herself free from the wires. Does some choreo on the floor. She approaches the cloaked figure and she sings to it. And it looks like a battle until she pushes the figure off of a platform. So it's like she's winning out over that cloaked figure that we briefly saw in that clip. The high note scream was amazing, apparently, and there is fire and lots of it in the final chorus. Tons of close-up of her face. There is this deep scream at the end, and it sounds and looks amazing, but Cynthia thinks it's going to look even better on television. So, sounds like we're getting what we wanted from this. I cannot wait to see this in the jury show this evening. Make sure you don't miss that, by the way. We're going to be live from 8:30, which is in 4.5 hours. We're instituting a small slow mode on YouTube because chat is moving so unbelievably fast. Thank you to all 3,000, how many? 3,200 of you watching on YouTube right now, which is really extraordinary. I'm really glad that you've chosen to experience this here with us. So, I want to quickly say there's a couple more super chats. Aaron said, should Alicia be top 3 with the jury? Yes, obviously. Was she? Come on, Gabe. She's from Poland. Let's talk about that. We're going to poll on this. Eurotwink says, do you think realistically there is a path for Romania to win, or are we getting ahead of ourselves? I would have said no, but now I'm going to say, ask me again in about 7 hours. I'll have an answer for you this evening. House of Nando thinks so, says Romania, dark horse winner. I'm Delulu for this. I mean, that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Especially for some of the same reasons Moldova, I think, with the country coming back into the contest and what it would mean for the contest too. So, I am now going to poll on where you feel Poland felt, that was the end of our last discussion, in the semi-final. So, where did Poland finish in the semi-final? Question mark. The answers are 10-9, 8-7, 6-5, and then 4-1. There we go. Those are your options. Let's see what you think. Dratopia says, I hope Romania is the shock winner. I am Romanian. Well, look, for Romanians here now, I must say it must feel really, really good to have an entry you can celebrate for the first time in years. I know 2023 was a bit of a misfire on basically every front. And then, so really we're looking at 22, 21 when you guys last had this opportunity. You were a powerhouse in the 2010s. I would be so excited to see Romania become a powerhouse again. How beautiful would that be? I think it would be amazing. So we're just waiting for the poll to finish on Poland, and then we're going to talk about Serbia. In the meantime, let me tell you about the ongoing rehearsal. As you know, the rehearsals are happening now for semi-final 2 while we finish our discussion on semi-final 1. And Luxembourg has just been. So you can see we are right here. Czechia is about to take to the stage. I know many of you will be very excited about that. For Luxembourg, Eva is small next to some mushrooms and an acorn almost falls on her. Oh no, says Jay. Eva starts in the catwalk singing into a mic stand / tree with a single spotlight. Then she moves closer to the stage during the first chorus. The LEDs remind Jay of fireflies. So presumably not the song by Owl City, but rather the insect. The second chorus uses a Steadicam to circle her while she moves around on stage. Bridge has her playing the violin, and she ends up with a mic stand, but this time at the stage. So, in addition to the little bits of augmented reality we've seen, sounds like we're taking a lot of prompts from the performance at the Luxembourg Song Contest. Have to say, doesn't make me feel very optimistic at the moment, but there we are. So, we're going to go to Poland, going to go to Serbia in a second, and of course we will keep looking out for more rehearsal news coming through. In the meantime, where did Poland finish in the semi-final? 44% of you think it was 8th or 7th. 30% of you think it was 6th or 5th. So actually, the majority of you think this did really solidly indeed. I will say, I definitely feel that in this semi, finished above Lithuania and above Belgium. Beyond that, who knows, but those two for sure. If the jury went for it harder than it went for Croatia, then who knows? House of Nando says, I spent more money on Gabe's Super Chats than on ORF spent on their show, visuals and writing. Alicia has the biggest chance to hit the US market post-Eurovision. I will say for this kind of music, entering the US market will be very difficult because you are entering against this huge musical tradition where people who've been engrossed in this since a very young age, who've been engaging with this for years and years, you very much get the problem of if you're very good at it, that's great, but you won't break through by being very good. You have to be absolutely world class. You have to level up even further. I hope she has all the success in the world, but that will be very, very tough. 46% on Twitch, by the way, said that Poland finished 5th or 6th, which is really quite something. So, let's see what happens. The final one, thank you for Last of Us. Hello from Kazakhstan. Salam, Kazakhstan. Hopefully Romania will win, and can't wait for us to participate in Eurovision. Last of Us, I would love that too very much. Thank you for your support. Serbia, much like with Lithuania, sorry, I had the briefest of moments, I don't know about you guys, where I panicked during the results, being like, what if something really weird has happened and we've lost them? Thankfully, we didn't. I illustrated the path using Vislatnia. I think it's very similar. This will have done well with the televote and terribly with the jury, and I think we'll see the same in the final. Really glad they're here. They were... What's the word? They delivered what they needed to. I didn't have much insight onto this because basically I saw it and I was like, this is what I expected. It's the energy I expected, the performance I expected, and the result I expected. So very much went, I would say, smoothly. I don't feel like if you're a fan of Serbia, there were too many moments where you would have panicked during last night's show. I kind of felt like things were moving along in the right way. Lego Movie Man, thank you very much, says, Poland bought me a new pair of shoes. If they were somehow winning the jury, they offered 501 to 1 odds. 501 to 1 is good, but they probably won't win the jury, so there we go. As we close up on the semi-final, I will do a poll on where Serbia finished, and then we're going to talk about semi-final 2, because I have notes for Czechia here that I'm about to share with you. So, Serbia finished, ... 10th to 9th, 8th to 7th, 6th to 5th, 4th to 1st. Start poll. So, while I'm waiting for that poll result, I suppose you guys would like me to tell you about Czechia. And well, Czechia is a country in central... No, I'm kidding. So he's on a ski lift in the mountains for his postcards. There are 3 different mirror props on stage. 3 different mirror props. He starts with him sitting down, surrounded by mirrors, and he's singing to himself in the mirror. He stands up and walks to the next one, and then we get the endless mirror effect, which Cynthia says is really effective. The prop is closed like a cage around him, and we see him within it. Bitters, thank you for the super chat. I'll come back to it in a moment. Then, during the chorus, they spin around. And then in the final bridge, they are pulled open. He walks out. And then after a very cold and sort of coldly lit performance, just before the final note, the stage illuminates with muted rainbow colors. So it's not like it's crazy and super color vomit. It's just very, muted rainbow colors seep in a tasteful way. And then the final note slaps. That's what I've heard. The final note slaps, and wow, it's a challenge, but sounds like it has come together. This is one that really needs to work tonight, though. The juries need to go for this song. Linnea says, gay stage! Yes. Zell says, oh my God, it's gay. Thank you, Lord. There we go. Everyone is very excited about that. In the meantime, you think Serbia finished 8th or 7th, and I agree with you. Blitters said, Serbia's backing was loud during the scream. I know what you mean, but I thought it sounded pretty cool all the same. Spanky, thank you very much for the 20. That's very generous. Since it's all online voting, don't you think it would be better if everyone could vote personally like the juries do, i.e. 12, 10, and so on? Think it would detect obvious bots. The reason I wouldn't support that is it dramatically raises the barrier to entry. People can't quickly vote for one song they like. They have to go through the whole thing. Eurotwink says, if Czechia isn't top 2 in the juries, fire them all. I really want Czechia to be up there with the juries. Based on what I've just seen, sounds pretty optimistic. By the way, Michael, the host, is currently dressed as if he was Copacabana Boy. That's what Cynthia says. 2 of the big 5 in semi-final 1 says DTIHD. That's a good point. We'll talk about them in a minute. I'll go back to them. Arakitu Karu says, I'm so mad that metal screaming isn't considered as much of a talent as belting out high notes. Screaming isn't hard, but screaming without hurting yourself is something that takes lots of dedication. I completely agree. The classic example of this, Lord of the Lost 2023. Loads of really good technical vocals, but because it was screams, no love from the jury, none whatsoever. It was very sad. So, we've now gone through all of these. There were also 2 automatic qualifiers, which I should find. They'll be around here somewhere. So, in the final, there is a couple that we have here. It was Italy and Germany. Firstly, Germany. I think it did better than we thought. I thought it was better than we expected. She sold it well. She looked great. I thought it was fun. I still think it's going to do terribly, but it's worth it was worth our time. It made me feel, like I was seeing a solid performance. And for that reason, I think it's done fairly well. I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to ask you how high, because obviously we all know the same things about this. We can have a discussion here. Add poll. And the answer is going to be, where do you think Germany will finish? And I'll do the same for Italy in a minute as well. So 21 to 25, 16 to 20, 11 to 15, and 1 to 10. So here we go. Vote now. I hope you guys are feeling satisfied with the volume of polls today. I have tried to make the polls very frequent in honor of the polls. So I'm curious to know what you think of this. And most of you are not very positive at the moment. People are saying, how was that performance fine, but Jonas Love has to change his? I think we really can't know without knowing what was asked to be changed in Jonas's performance. But in any case, I think Sarah should be allowed to wear that outfit, and Erica should have been allowed to wear her original outfit last year. These things, I think, the answer to this is not to pit one artist against another and say, well, why are they allowed to do that? The answer is to say that actually, we should avoid excessive policing that we've seen in recent years. Justice for Erica, indeed. So the other one we need to talk about, because you are very convinced, 61% of you, in fact, think that it's 21st or below for Germany, on more than 1,000 votes as well. So that's a convincing margin. Where do you think Germany will finish? 60%, 21 to 25. 35%, 16 to 20. Vorlon says, is it okay to not like a song but like the artistry? Of course. I mean, that's what I talked about with Poland. I don't like the song. I'd happily hold my hands up and say that to anyone. I don't like the song, but I think it was impressive. Blitter says, I think Germany's place will depend on if Bangaranga and Jala get through. Not too many girly vops this year. Well, Jala is a key question for today, and we'll come on to that. We'll talk about that later. First, Italy, Sal da Vinci. What an absolute piece of joy this was. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do. I thought it was so fun. What a fantastic song. I thought it was lovely. By the way, once we've talked about Italy, I've got some more news from the semi-final for you. We're going to be talking about France next. And we have a good amount of notes from both Jay and Cynthia. So thank you to my team for doing that and being in the arena and helping us with that. I'm seeing lots of love for Sal. All I wanted was for it to feel soft and warm and loving. And you know what? It really did. I loved the premise of the getting ready for the wedding, of Sal as a kind of officiant of the wedding. It came together so beautifully. And then you had the really silly Italy dress reveal, which was just the most fun part of all. I thought it was great. It really made me smile. And I think this is going to do seriously well. Again, of course, you get a poll. You're going to have the same poll as we did for Germany. Italy will finish. And for this one, I'm going to change the options slightly based on where I expect the votes will fall. 16 to 25, 11 to 15, 6 to 10, 1 to 5. I want to see if there are any Sal da Vinci truthers in here who think this might win. I don't, but I've seen them around, so I'm wondering if there are any here. And some people think that it was cheesy and they hated it. That it was mediocre nonsense, says somebody. Let's see. Number one Chaos Gremlin says, if I get married, that's what we're playing. I think it might make its way onto my wedding playlist as well. Let's see. So you have some time to vote there. In the meantime, let me tell you about France. Jay says she's at a castle in the postcard. It starts off with a dramatic light show. She stood on a small circle platform. She's joined by her 5 dancers. She struts up and down the catwalk during the second verse and chorus. I'm expecting lots of close shots of this, either a single camera or very few camera shots. The way that we've seen from the clip and the performances they've done on TV before, you're not expecting a great deal of camera cuts in this, are you? You want to maintain a sense of presence and of connection without distracting too much. During the end chorus, she's up on a platform right at the end of the catwalk to deliver the final lyrics, and the vocals were apparently totally flawless. They were super impressive, said Cynthia in the arena, very theatrical. She says she doesn't know if it's off-putting for viewers who don't like theatre, though. Now there is some kind of interval. It's the Professor Eurovision thing again. Apparently, in Cynthia's words, they're talking about gay people, and it features the Do It For Your Lover voice crack by Manel Navarro. Still a better executed performance than the Austria versus Australia act last night. Thank you so much, Hobbit Notes, who says, I enjoyed everything about Italy except holding up the flag skirt. That was unnecessary when you already had the twirl reveal. I know what you mean, but, I still like it very much. I thought it was just fun and silly, By the way, you think Italy is going to come between 6th and 10th, and well, I absolutely agree. Exactly agree. That is, in my opinion, exactly what is going to happen. With that, we can close the book on semi-final 1 and focus here. This is where we are at the moment. We're up to France. We've had all of these so far. We've talked about what has been going on in the rehearsal. We have press live in the room. My team are there feeding back to us. And we still have all of these songs remaining, all the way down to Norway at the end. What I will say, by the way, a little note. We haven't got to Malta yet, but a little tidbit. And I need to check whether I can reveal the reason. So I'm going to tell you something, but I'm only going to tell you half the story and then check if the delegation is happy for me to reveal the other half. The spin at the end that we've seen in the rehearsal clip is how it's going to finally be. It was meant to be faster. There's a reason it's not, that we will hopefully have a chance to talk about at another time. Paloma Rumba is going to be up next from Armenia, a song that is very loud. It's honestly, much like with Parg last year, I very much have the feeling that it's just a song that is just kind of noisy. That can work, as we saw. I mean, Armenia went to the final last year. But I don't know whether this has the same appeal as Parg did, because Parg was extremely handsome and a very, very beautiful man to look at, and I think that may have helped him. Cynthia deserves better than Italian cheese fest at the wedding, says Maddie Cat Lady. Many more beautiful Italian songs than that. Well, look, maybe we'll have some other Italian songs there too, but Cynthia loves this, okay? So if she wants it at her wedding, she's getting it at her wedding. James Anderson, thank you for the super chat, says, someone who hadn't heard of any of the songs pre-last night, Lithuania, Serbia, and Moldova made the boldest first impressions. Favourite was Portugal, but I'm a boring voter. Look, no shame in your favourite being Portugal. I think that was gorgeous, but very interesting seeing somebody who hadn't seen them before and getting an idea of how you felt about it at the first thing. I do think that it was really, that Moldova in particular made a big impact. MiG is a type of fighter jet. A MiG impact is very different to a big one. Yes, a big impact on me. So, we await news from Armenia. In the meantime, I'm just casting my eyes forward on this show. There's a few interesting things. I'm curious to see how effective Switzerland is. I think we could see some odds movement after that. Cyprus, there are questions still. Will those questions be answered? Who knows? Latvia, I'm expecting the vocal to be perfect. So I'm very much rooting for her because she came on stream yesterday. Super lovely experience. It was really great to see her here. And if you haven't already, make sure you go and look at the afternoon stream from yesterday where you can see our interview with Atvara and our interview with Erica Vickman. Looking forward, Denmark and Australia, I feel like they have things in their pocket which they haven't quite revealed yet, so we will see. The clip for Denmark was bad, but I think it was just an unfortunate voice crack in rehearsal. Albania, totally nothing seen yet for this. We don't know what they're going to do. I'm excited to see it, but we just don't know. Norway, I think, will be similar. Thank you very much, Mirabout. I'll come back to you in a moment. Malta, meanwhile, this is one where it's so made for what we've seen. It's so made for TV. I don't think that Jay and Cynthia are going to see all that much today, to be honest. I am expecting that we will get a better idea of it this evening, and I can tell you how good the execution is versus what I saw beforehand when I saw some of the pre-stuff. So, we have some news about Armenia. Let's hear what Cynthia has to say. Armenia's lift prop is made of two pieces and it's pushed together. And he's in a boat for the postcard. It starts with everyone in the lift that you've seen in the clip already. The lift opens up a couple of times, like peekaboo sort of thing. So like the rehearsal clip, essentially. The first chorus is totally in the lift. You cannot see them in the arena at all. Then the prop is pulled away and they dance on the main stage. Now it feels kind of empty, says Cynthia. There's a giant close-up of his face on the screens. They're taking out more giant props that are office filing boxes. He takes off his jacket and finishes it topless. And he's hyping up the audience before running towards those boxes. And then they fall. And they Naruto run towards the catwalk. This is Armenia, not Malta, to be clear. He Naruto runs. Okay. I mean, I'll reserve judgment because I'm going to see it later, but... I see. I don't really know what to make of that, I have to be honest. Naruto running. Someone's asking what Naruto running is. Everyone had that one kid in their school. I'm going to have to demonstrate this. Everyone had the one kid in their school who ran around the playground like this. That's Naruto running. So that's what we're expecting from Armenia. Apparently the vocals are quite shouty, but that's maybe not surprising. I hope you find this coverage informative, descriptive, and entertaining. There was lots of clips yesterday. I fear that may be another one. So that's Naruto running, and that is Armenia. We are waiting then. Next is going to be Switzerland, which I imagine will be a bit of an involved setup. Officer Bulls says, I'd pay a very healthy sum of money to see Aiden Naruto run. It would be funny indeed. It would be funny. Eurotwink says, it was you, wasn't it? It wasn't me. I promise it wasn't me. I was not the Naruto running kid. I was one of those kids at school who was like quite invisible. You know, one of the people that sort of keeps their head down and stays out the way. That was very much my style. House of Nando says, Naruto Rumba, let's run. Well, we will see later, won't we? Eat Plenty Fruit says, love all these so bad it's good entries. If this is as ridiculous as it sounded, because it sounded like they have all kinds of things going on, and it was really sort of all over the place. Yeah, I think this could go into that category. I hope it's fun. Charlie Marn says, I can picture a path where Armenia overtakes Bangaranga. Both dance-based songs, ballad-heavy semi. France will be voting too. They will try to pull votes their way. It is true that France often gives points to Armenia, so let's see. I haven't actually tried. Someone asked about the Latvian sweets. I haven't tried them yet. Maybe I should. Let me have a little look. The bow is so nicely done. I feel almost bad untying it, you know. There we go. So we haven't done a like sort of goodie bag unboxing, but this is some sweets that the Latvians gave me. And then after that, once I've tried this, I'm going to tell you about Switzerland, all right? That's the deal. You all stay there and sit where you are, and I will try these sweets. This really is a beautiful box. And then inside, you have these. And they almost look like fruits or berries or something. I've never seen this kind of sweet before. If there are any Latvians in chat, please tell me what this is. I'm going to put this here. I am going to put the box back over there on the wall because I just think it would fit in really nicely here. There we go. So I don't really know what these are. I'm going to try them and see... Before I try them, I'm going to tell you about Veronica's performance from Switzerland. So, Veronica is in some mountains in the postcards. She starts on stage alone with a white rope. The first chorus has a shaky cam with intense white LEDs behind us. Jay thinks that they're filming it in 24 frames per second, so that's a cinematic framing. You would be watching it on TV in 30 or 60 frames per second, so it will make a difference. It will feel different. The second verse brings in the dancers, and that's when we start seeing the prop. So we don't have the prop for the entire thing. I know some of you were worried that it was causing muddlement of some description, but it sounds like it's not a big problem. Just as a reminder, we're talking about Switzerland right now. That's who's on stage at the moment. The second chorus has the dancers climbing the red string prop, and then she's trying to break free from the red strings during the guitar solo. Matching the message of the song, she ends defeated. She ends on her knees, so she isn't able to break free, which sort of reflects into the message of the song. Right, so I guess these ones are chocolate. I'll try one of these chocolate ones first. These are our Latvian sweets. Do not know what to expect from this at all, so here we go. So it's like a chocolate raisin, and then you have these other red ones. That's really nice, actually. It's really good. The Latvians did not cheap out. And actually, they're really good for this. Last year, they did a Tautomatas passport, which I still have. Secondly, we have these, they look like cranberries, maybe. So it's really nice, like dried fruits. Like cranberries that are dried in the same way that raisins are. These are delicious. So, make sure you vote for Latvia, which is the tastiest delegation of all. That's really good. I'm going to keep those out. That is some of the nicest sweets I have ever been given by a delegation. Those are great. So, meanwhile, the next song comes with questions. That song is Cyprus. Much discussion about the vocals. Even Antigone has felt compelled to talk about this in the last week or so, where the vocals have maybe not been on point. We're going to find out now, when I hear, whether they sound good in the arena or not, how the staging is, whether people feel it's static or not. I'm going to have another chocolate cranberry because I think it's delicious. Thank you to the great nation of Latvia. I'm very, very grateful for you. The tastiest delegation out of context is crazy. Yeah, no, fair enough. But no, the Latvians, you know what, I have to say, of all the delegations that I work with, the Latvians are among the friendliest and most communicative and most willing to engage on this stuff out of everyone. And I have only ever had really, really good experiences with them and their artists. You know, we spoke to Tautomatas last year as well, and they were absolutely lovely. So, we await news from Cyprus. Like I said, I'm a little nervous because this is one that I think a lot of people have identified as the potential big drifter if things don't go to plan. I'm just going to check on the odds for the semi-finals just to see if anything has moved. Just by the by, while we're here, you'll see that we've basically reset to where we were before the jury show, now that the live show has happened. Finland's back up here. Greece has dropped away again. Everything else is roughly bouncing around where it was, you know, with Israel and Australia sort of trading places, and France sort of holding up that middle position with Denmark. So, in semi-final 2, the odds look like this at the moment. And as you can see, the top 10, they feel pretty sure. It's looking tough for these bottom 5, but I have faith that especially these two can get into contention. It'll make it a problem for places like Norway and Cyprus, but I do think, you know, if Cyprus drops, interesting stuff can start happening. So, from Cynthia, Cyprus is in a bog and in the fields. The table is so ridiculously gigantic. It's made of a kind of stone-looking material. To be fair, Cyprus in a bog, that's the postcard, not the performance. The dancers start by hiding under the table and she's sitting on it wearing a veil. The vocals start solid. The dancer's hands poke through the table and she starts walking down the middle, which lights up. As soon as she starts moving, her vocals fall apart. Oh dear. Now they're dancing on the table, basically not much except for various dancing. Second to last chorus has the tiny on the table, and she sits that you want... What? That bit doesn't make sense, so I'm going to skip it. So on the... Oh, there we go, she's corrected it. Second to last chorus has the tiny chair on the table that you saw in the clip. The you want more bit, she lays down with a top shot. The high note before the last chorus wasn't good. Her vocals just aren't strong enough. Last chorus has the catwalk on fire as she walks down. This is a comment from GJ over at Ding a Dong, who has messaged me specifically to say this. Jala's vocal is worse than Mira Omar, also because you can hear it 20 times louder than Mira's. She got through 2 lines on the note and then lost it. But he also says it's amazingly staged. Eleni Ferreira or Chanel would have rocked this. So it sounds like it might be Antigonova, but by the sounds of it, the staging has good potential, but the vocal is oh dear, oh no. I'm feeling a certain Theo Evanness in the air, where an ambitious staging has been met by a performer that cannot deliver it. I mean, I guess we'll find out later tonight. Hopefully the stream will look better than it did on Monday. Let me tell you that. But that sounds like a real mess. It sounds like a real mess for Cyprus, and they could be in trouble. The experience of Montenegro, I think, shows us if the vocal isn't on point, you're in trouble. Based on those assessments, we're in big trouble. Big trouble. If she was holding back for the whole performance, I wouldn't talk about it. But the fact that she was clearly fine at the start when she was still, but the second she starts moving, bang, the vocal goes. That's a problem. Let's hold a little bit of hope for tonight. Maybe it should sound better live, but if it really doesn't work, then yeah. The Andromachy Theo Evan curse may find it has a third member. So, for now, it is Antigonova, but we might be, there's no way to put back into Antigone in a way that makes it effective. Antigonova works much better. Smudge, it says, welcome back, Andromachy. Yeah, I mean, if it's as it sounds from multiple sources, we may be in trouble. Let's see if anyone else is talking about it on Twitter. I want to get some other perspectives on this. So, James Stevenson, who you're very familiar with, says that the vocals were not bad, but not great. It doesn't feel conceptually strong, he says, which is maybe that it's not being sold properly. This is a computer says, I have golden locks and eyes so captivating. Try not to think about that. It's Austria next, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm going to have another cranberry. Shamelessly abandoning my credibility in favour of free sweets from the Latvians. That's what Eurovision Week is all about. So, let's see what Cosmo gets. Californian says, just do a mirror, Omar, and turn the microphone to 20%. You can't do that at Eurovision. They've been much stricter this year with backing vocals. So you will notice we haven't seen many lead vocalists who have been completely buried. In any case, I think Cosmo is coming to the stage, which of course gives us an opportunity to reflect on the fact that he is the only artist ever to come on the live stream and openly call for fan fiction to be written of other artists, that being Søren and Jonas, and he called it Denway. I'm told that it is now being written. Oh, and to be clear, he specified that they would be having a baby, so at least one of them must be pregnant. I will say GJ's description of the staging is being disputed by some of my friends who say no, it's an average concept. So, yeah, sounds like things are not all well for the Cypriots, but we'll see it this evening and we'll tell you for sure. In the meantime, we're waiting for news from Austria. Dolphin Dane says, isn't it allowed if you are on stage backing vocals? Yes, but Cyprus has 4 dancers. Cyprus has 4 dancers, and as a result, there's a limited amount you can do there. Whereas Duset Daram from Metalfest, Mira Omar did her job, which was to sell the song sort of visually to Aura Farm, basically, and to lie there and to look really cool while her backing singers did most of the singing. You can't do that here. You simply cannot do that here. It's not possible. So we have Austria next. And while Austria is performing, of the next 4 songs, I'm going to ask you, because I feel like you guys have a poll itch, going to ask you, which of the next four are you most excited for? Question mark. Latvia, Denmark, Australia, and Ukraine. Let me know in chat now. I mean, I'm pretty interested in all of these, to be honest. They're all songs I like, all people I like as well. So let's see. Just waiting for some news on Austria. I think it's on right now. He's performing as we speak. There's a little delay beforehand getting the prop on, so they are slightly behind. Someone said, I heard Ukraine, Slava Ukraine. Slava Ukraine indeed. My big ambition for next national final season is to go to Vidbir. But I don't just want to go to Vidbir. I want to make a video like we did with Moldova. I want to illustrate the importance of that show and the importance of Eurovision to Ukraine. And that will involve confronting some difficult realities that exist in modern day Ukraine. And I'm going to need to show those realities in that video to fully do justice to it. I also want to say, and I see it in the stats, Ukrainians are one of the 10 biggest audiences of any country for this channel. So I want to say, I know you're here. I love you very much. Thank you so much for staying with us, and wishing you and your families safety, health, peace, and freedom. All right, so you have said, and 1,000 of you have voted, 50% are most excited for Denmark of the next four, Australia on 22, Ukraine on 19, just 9 for Latvia. Though I will say, of these four, Latvia, we know everything about the staging, basically, because Atvara came on here and told us straight up that it's really similar to the national selection. Interestingly, from ESC Tom, and thank you, Ren, for passing this on, Austria apparently has the best opening shot of the contest so far. Cosmo, we might be back. Cosmo fans, here's the description. Really creative start with Cosmo and the dancers interacting with the floor LED, says Jay. They do the iconic dance in a line of 5 in the first chorus, then the frames come down, and during the second chorus, some of the dancers climb onto it. The bridge has Cosmo on the catwalk delivering his big note perfectly, and the final chorus has the dancers running on too. Everyone has a lot of fun on this, by the sounds of it. Katerina, thank you so much for that $5 in the super chat. I really appreciate you. Let me say this now. I'm making the big call based on what I just saw here and based on my experience here. Austria, not coming last. I've said that, now I've cursed it, but Austria is not coming last. I fear what that may mean for the UK, but Austria will not. Austria will pick up some points because it's charming, especially in the televote. It is not Cosmova. Thank you so much, Nero. It says, this is going to be such a hit with the home crowd. Yes, that too. I think they're really going to get into it. I really hope we see the whole crowd doing the dance. Sadly, I think the Eurovision crowd is going to do what they do very often, which is their best Bandidos to Cante impression. They'll literally be like the most active girl bop ever on stage, and they're stood there like... Never understood why people buy standing tickets if they're going to stand there. Like, dance! Your ticket enables you to dance, so dance! But there we go. Cynthia says, and Dana's going to love this, Danda will be proud. Lots of focus on the dance. And the final chorus on the catwalk feels very last chorus of Barabada Bastu with similar colours, lighting and energy. So it builds up in a big way then. Nikolai says, Austria easily winning telly and jury 500 plus points. Sure, why not? I've always been curious about your viewer demographics, says this unpronounceable username. Could you share in depth top 10 or top 5 nations, an order if possible? I mean, I can tell you like what the biggest audiences are from the channel for sure. So last 28 days, let's have a little scroll down and look. I'm just trying to find it for you now. Top geographies. So, one second, it's just loading. I'm going to go down, starting from 1 and working my way down. So the biggest one is UK, then US is 2nd, Finland is 3rd, Germany 4th, Sweden 5th. The Netherlands is 6th, Australia 7th, Denmark 8th, Poland 9, and then there's a few, Greece, Romania, Canada, and Ukraine, which are all essentially joint 10th. And they're all on exactly the same amount. But none of them have more than a 15% share. So it's really disparate. My audience, actually, 80% of my audience has a first language other than English, based on these stats. Poland mentioned, everyone's very excited. Polska górom, indeed. And the Poles in the chat might not know this, but I had so obviously, Jewish people tend to have roots that spread across many different countries and stuff, right? My family migrated in the end of the 19th century from... And the boat that they got on went from Riga in Latvia to London. But from what we understand of our history, they actually went to Riga from Poland. And they were living in, we think, a town called Nasielsk, which is in Mazovia. It's sort of in the vicinity of Warsaw. So there is some Polish in here somewhere. We actually looked into whether it would make me eligible for citizenship, and it nearly did, but they left a little bit too soon. There is it's like basically 1920 or later, you're eligible, 1920 or before, you're not. So no Polish citizenship for me. Alexa Bargain says, we have electric callboy at home. UK, Austria, and Germany battle for 0 will be legendary. Well, Austria will win because Austria is going to get more points. And the Poles are very excited. Oh my God, Gabe, jest jednym z nas. In a sense, yes. In a sense. And of course, the thing is with Cynthia as well, what you guys might not know, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing you this, is that she is actually, so she's not Polish, but she's from Germany, and her family's from the east of Germany. And she's actually, she looked into her lineage, and her lineage is from a small Slavic indigenous group that still lives in East Germany called the Sorbians. And so it's a small group only quite near to the Polish border, speaking a very similar language. She doesn't know the language now, but she was taught it in school. And so she's got a, she's like, so Poles, she's your cousin. And she was born very, very close to the Polish border. So close, in fact, that the peace treaty at the end of World War II split her city in half. Anyway, moving on. Latvia next. There is a slanted prop. Think Poland, but at an angle, which is where they've protected the shadow. Starts with very close up, and her vocals are very solid and angelic. The second chorus is when she appears as a child. And on screen, the whiskey glass flies in before it shatters. So the glass itself is literally smashing on the screen, is the impression I'm getting. So that imagery is being made clearer. Thank you, Ashka Marine, for the 1 month for the subscription. And Persephone said, Can mocked Croatia's performance, and Lelek posted it. I'll be looking into that later for sure. I am going to go to that in a minute, actually. Thank you for letting me know. I'll find it in a second. Anyway, they project glass splinters to the left and right of the screen, beyond the screen, limited towards the seats. And there's solid vocals throughout. So it looks like you're going to see the whiskey glass to really make it clear that this is about alcoholism. That is what the song is about, and evidently so. I'm going to go have a little look at Lelek's Instagram, because apparently it sounds to me like they are having a little bit of an argument with a certain broadcaster. Thank you for the subscription there, or what was it? The 100 bits. Congratulations, Emily, on finishing your dissertation. So let me have a look and see if I can find it. And once I find it, I will show you. Just scrolling through their stories now. Okay, here we go. I have a statement here from Lelek, which they've posted on Instagram. We are disturbed by the comments made by Israeli broadcaster Kan, in which our culture and the sacrifices made by oppressed Catholic women were mocked. It is especially disturbing to ridicule women singing about female pain and suffering while showing a complete lack of empathy and respect for the suffering of others. Wow. Wow, that is pulling no punches. And what does it say? It says that can have not changed at all. We've been dealing with this since 2024, and some of you might not know this. So I'm going to go and find the commentary from 2024, which is in one of my videos, if anyone remembers what video it is, because I think we need to remember that Can have a long, long history of openly mocking and bullying contestants live on air. It's time to remind everyone of this. But first, I need to remember what video it is in. It's so good that artists feel emboldened to talk about these things because everyone needs to know the way they behave at this contest. And let me tell you, there are certain things I can't talk about. We see this kind of arrogant behavior every single day. Every single day we see it. Because honestly, I think this broadcaster and a lot of the attached personnel, they act with impunity because they feel like they can get away with anything. And we've seen that in the past, they have been able to get away with anything. I think it was on the iceberg. I just need to remember where is the main thing. So let me just quickly have a look because I think it's important to remind ourselves of what we have seen in the past. Was it, or might have been in my must be removed from Eurovision video. Let me have a quick look. Let me see if I can find it. If anyone knows, please let me know because I think it's important that we talk about this again and that we show this to remind everyone what we are dealing with. Actually, you know what? It might have been in the Eurovision was a complete disaster video. If it is, I'll just play a clip from that. It's as good now as it always was. Yeah, I have found one such example. I'm going to put it on screen for you guys, and I'll turn on the sound so you can hear it. Here's one such example of the past of the stuff we've been talking
saying
about.
This about Bambi Thug.
רבים כחלק מהזהות הבינארית שלהם. הם גם מעדיפים להשחיר על ישראל. אולי נדבר על זה בהמשך.
Kulin, if you have the full video, please send it to me. Please send it to me.
תכינו את הקללות.
Because there were loads of examples of this. Absolutely loads. This is far from the only one. This is just the only one that I could find immediately. So yeah, we are doing this again. What I want to see, at a minimum, is the same grovel, is an actual apology, not the non-apology that we got last year when they mocked the Armenians. This is now 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row we're doing this. For those of you who are just joining us, let's just show that again. I will, of course, go back to the show in a little bit, and we will look at the comments I've received. But this just shows, it really says everything about their mentality. Fantasy Fox, thanks so much. Says, I think something was in the first iceberg video of this year. Yes, I think so too. Let me see if I can find it. Once again, I'll read that comment from Lelek. We are disturbed by the comments made by the Israeli broadcaster Can, in which our culture and the sacrifices made by oppressed Catholic women were mocked. It is especially disturbing to ridicule women singing about female pain and suffering while showing such a complete lack of empathy and respect for the suffering of others. I especially think that last comment is not about the performance. Because they say, you're ridiculing us while simultaneously showing such a complete lack of empathy and respect. I think they know exactly what they're saying there. Liam, thanks so much for that gifted sub, by the way. So, it continues. They tell on themselves. They tell on themselves every single day, and this is just more of the same. They're telling on themselves again. And, you know, we can continue to go through this ridiculous exercise, or we can get rid of them. And this is the thing, is that Lelek and Parg, as someone pointed out in chat, never said a thing about this. They don't care what you do. They will choose to bully you if they feel you are a valid target anyway. This is what they do. This is how they act. This is how they have always acted in Eurovision. And it's a disgrace. I'm seeing if the iceberg video has the footage in question, because really, you want to... Okay, I've got it. Right. Time for a compilation of some of what for those of you who don't know, this is what the Israeli broadcaster is getting up to during shows.
מה שלהם כבר פחות מסעירה את העולם, אז זה מה שקרה צריכים לשלוח שירים טובים. עקיבא צריך לקבל את זה. יש גם תומכי חמאס שיודעים לשיר, מה לעשות? מה לעשות? נמו צריך להגיד לא חובב ישראל גדול, היא הייתה שותפה לעצומה נגד ישראל, סתם, שתכירו, שתדעו. אתם תעשו עם המידע הזה מה שאתן חושבות. תפי בני ובנות המלך. רגע, לא אוהדי ישראל, נגיד את זה ככה. בני המלך. איזה סטריאוטיפ אתה חושב שהאירים מעדיפים? שהם סטניסטים פלואידים מינית, או כמו פעם פשוט שיכורים אלימים? אגב, היא חטפה פה חתיכת קלקול קיבה במסעדת פירות ים. אתה יודע איך אומר חיים נחמן ביאליק? מי שמתעסק, מתרסק.
Baby lasagna and cat.
So, hopefully that illustrates this nicely. We're going to keep an eye on this because this is a developing story and we'll report back to you on how it develops through the day. The most important thing to know for now is what it is. I don't know exactly what was said. I'm going to try and get that for you so we understand. We do have notes inbound for Denmark now, and then it'll be Australia afterwards. So, I'm just going to search up some news for you to see if we can get the exact comments. So what they did is Khan posted a comment on their TikTok where they said that that Lelek looked like they'd overdone it with tattoos on like a holiday in Eilat. Eilat is like a sort of Eilat is kind of the Magaluf of Israel, right? And so yeah, it's another one in a pattern of behavior. Thank you very much, Frogsley. I really appreciate the subscription. So let's see what happens. And by the way, they did an absolutely great performance last night, and they absolutely deserved their place in the final. And that's all about that. See if we develop, see if there's a statement or an apology. If there is, then obviously we are going to tell you about that. For now, this rehearsal is ongoing, so let's keep going with this while keeping an eye on the updates as they come. Right, so Denmark. It's extremely similar to the national final performance. The outfit change is in the same place. Okay, basically, it's the same as the national final, but he hit all his marks, his vocal was solid, and apparently it's slightly better produced. So it's really not an interesting update, but we didn't expect it to be much difference, to be honest. My take on this is that the EBU has a responsibility to protect artists, and you have to escalate the penalties where this has happened before. Khan has been warned about this repeatedly when it comes to the commentary. And the argument when it comes to disqualification around this specific issue is about, well, the artist didn't do anything. And it's like, okay, in that case, give them at least a big fine because it keeps happening. You have to do start leveraging some real concrete penalties. I get it that if you've only warned people before, you can't jump all the way in one go, right? But you have to start climbing those stairs. If you ever want to be in a position where you can disqualify Israel from the contest, you have to hold them accountable at every step. You have to keep escalating. We've had a warning already for something. Now you need to start having financial and competitive penalties and things like this, escalating up until you remove them entirely on a disciplinary front. If I had my way, I'd throw them out now. I would have thrown them out 2 years ago, obviously. But this is how you have to escalate these things when you're operating within these restrictive environments. Ollie Not Pro says, feels utterly surreal to watch an ESC Gabe stream on the train to Vienna. Thanks for giving me something to watch during the 17-hour trip. I hope you enjoy the trip very much. And see you here. So we are waiting for news from Australia now. That's going to be the next song up. And in the meantime, if you're just joining us, we do have some breaking news, which is that Lelek from Croatia have taken to Instagram to call out the behavior of the Israeli broadcaster who have made in what they feel is an inappropriate joke on Instagram. Completely agreeing with what all of you are saying about, how many warnings are you going to get? When are you going to start leveraging real penalties? It has to escalate now. It has to escalate. You can't keep going around like this because you enable their bad behavior and anyone else's. I think it says everything, by the way, that once again, when we showed all of those instances of bad behavior, you got a bunch of Israelis show up in chat spamming the flag and stuff. You know, what does that say about the mentality? Everything. Everything. So, still waiting for news about Australia. The thing with Australia is that clearly there's a long changeover here. I wonder if it's a little longer than they expected. I'm pretty sure she has her piano on stage. Maybe it's... what's the word? Maybe it's taking a little longer than it's meant to. I will say, by the way, if there are any Hebrew speakers or any Israelis who disagree with Can's behavior in chat, if they have said anything in the commentary which is derogatory, as we know they tend to do, anything that is unpleasant, get the footage, subtitle it, post it, make sure the world finds out. Because, firstly, the EBU needs to know about it. Secondly, the world needs to know about it so that the EBU takes action on it. People are pointing out, you know, that lots of commentators make jokes, but the nasty way in which Can do it has always been, it's vindictive, it's unpleasant, and it's just mean, you know? There we go. Delta is on stage at present. James, if those videos exist of Can mocking Lithuania and Poland, we need them posted and we need subtitles. We need to have them posted and we need subtitles because that's the way you get action on these things. This is the kind of thing where the fandom comes in important. You can force action by putting that kind of stuff everywhere. Still waiting for news from Australia. I'm not sure what's happening, what's taking so long, but I imagine we will have news soon. Giche says, a golden piano is being set and rigged up with cables for Delta Goodrum on the catwalk. Could she be flying or is she rising from the top of the piano? There's a safety standing harness that's been taken off stage. So, something is happening. Cameron, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. If you haven't already, if it's your first time here, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel. It would be great to get to 60,000 subscribers this week. We are on the verge of 58,000. Now, so if we can get those 2,000 more in the rest of the week, that would be a really, really cool thing. I'm just hearing from some sources in the arena. I haven't heard from my team yet, but someone has just messaged me to say that this was one of Delta's worst takes, bizarrely, and it was a little frustrating. And that she's been very, and so like it wasn't as good as the rehearsal clip. Here we go. Here's the news from the team. It's a big glitter piano on the catwalk and a big glitter arch on the stage with a harp. They have lighting rigs down and they put some fabrics around it before it gets pulled up. It takes ages to set up because there's so many pieces. Delta is in a stunning glitter dress and there's lots of star sparkles on the screen. The chorus has the camera sort of moving to the left and right of her, I think in the way that we've seen in the clip. She then walks down the catwalk singing to the audience in the second verse. And then she plays the piano during the second chorus. In the bridge, she walks on the piano, and at that point, there is fire. Then she is lifted up from the piano on a platform that is coming out of it, and there is sparkle rain everywhere. So, for the big finish, they literally launch her up into the air on top of a piano. So, vocally, it wasn't her best job today, but that's fine. It's a rehearsal. It doesn't matter. But it was really good. Apparently, the fabrics they bought on stage, they weren't on camera. They were actually early prep for Ukraine. That's curious. But yes, so sounds like it's going to be fun and camp and exciting, and that's really cool to see. Just as a reminder of where we are in the show, we're up to Australia, which is just here. So we have these 5 left to go. Once we're done with all of the songs, it'll be wrapping up for now. That'll probably, I imagine, be in about 25 to 30 minutes. And then we're going to be off until 8:30. At 8:30, we will be back. And what we'll be doing is going through the jury show. So I will actually be seeing everything live as it will appear on TV. Jay will be here with me and doing the same. Yes, 7:30 UK time, for those who are asking. And we will tell you what is happening during the show in real time. James says he sent me the Khan videos. Bear in mind, if they don't have... Okay, this is fine, but I obviously don't speak Hebrew, so I would have to translate that. Is it going to let me know? So this is posts on Khan's Instagram and TikTok feeds. If anyone can translate them, that'd be very helpful. John Model will return tomorrow and on Saturday. Don't you worry about that. So we're now waiting for Ukraine to take to the stage. Interesting that they did some prep for Ukraine before Australia performed. But for now, all we can do is wait. So we have how many songs left? Just these 5. I'm waiting for news. Hopefully the changeovers will be slightly shorter. Although apparently one of the bits of the Ukrainian staging is malfunctioning, so we have another delay. I shouldn't have said it. Literally instantly cursed as soon as I said that. These things generally improve in the live show. And Dander is actually right. I do need a native speaker translation for it to be absolutely sure. Tom predictably describes Australia's staging as goop. Yep, indeed. And there was another comment I wanted to read that I've now lost. Where is it? I can't find it. Sorry to whoever it was, but I have lost your comment now. So, I'm still waiting for news from Ukraine. Like I said, my team is on the ground. They're in the room. They'll give us details as soon as they're possible. In the meantime, I keep an eye on Twitter just in case anyone else is bringing out information. People like Aussie Vision, our friends GJ, James, who are all in the room as well. So, Lelaka Ridnim. This is from James. Firstly, James Stevenson. And we have some news. Such a classy staging, says James. Great graphics, bursts of decisive colour. Billowing fabrics fall gracefully to the floor. The lighting choices are great. It's intimate and grand at the right moments. And it's the longest note in Eurovision ever. Ukraine just know how it's done. Jay says she starts with it walking across the stage along a white strip. The pre-chorus, you get a sort of orangey red LED and she moves towards the front of the stage. And you can see the sheets hanging from the ceiling. The first chorus turns the stage blue, and Lelaka, it's like she's flowing on stage with her dress. There's multiple spotlights during the middle of the song that are on her, and multiple white sheets emerge from the ceiling during the bridge and fall once the final chorus begins. Vocally perfect, but one of the sheets has gotten stuck. So, minor staging issue, but other than that, seems to have worked. Someone says, R.I.P. Natalia Gordienko. Yep, her record is going to be broken. And let me tell you now, that note is going to sound a whole lot better than Natalia's did. I'm keeping an eye on the odds just to see what happens. There's been very little movement today other than one tiny little thing, which is that, I'm going to show you on screen actually. We have had a movement in the qualification odds. And here it is. Cyprus has dropped down to 7th and is closing very nearly to Albania. So, will that move more tonight? Let's see. Czechia has strengthened a little bit. But if we look at some of these graphs, I'll show you Czechia first. You'll see we bottomed out and then came up. As for Cyprus, oh no, is the word at the moment. It's only a few percentage points, but it's moving in the wrong direction at the moment. It's not Antigonova. We have to see what happens this evening. If she's terrible this evening, she'll be in big trouble because I don't think she's coming in the top 4 or 5 of the televote. The top 5 of the televote, in my opinion, will be Denmark, Australia, Romania, Ukraine, and Bulgaria. And then maybe Albania 6th. So if she's only going to come 7th with the public, she has to be in with the jury. Otherwise, she's in big trouble. I am curious to hear, though, what you think. I am worried now because Danda, hold yourself together. 1-2 Drive from the UK is next. Another very proppy performance. Hopefully this will be good. I mean, I just want it to, I just want it to work. I have a personal connection with this. I really love Sam, as in Look Mum No Computer. But, please be good. All I want is 1 point. 1 point, and I'll be delighted. Just waiting for some more comments. ESC United, first out the gate with this one. The UK starts with a dozen tables placed on stage. Some of them have books or a random table plant on them. The 4 dancers with monitor heads take their seats, and the singer is taking a seat in the back. So it's very crowded. It sounds like they're doing this kind of office setup at the start, right? Which, I mean, fits with the song. As we've seen, it changes. So I imagine the tables tip over or something. Other than that, no UK news yet. I guess they are about to start or will have just started. So in the next few minutes, we should start to get news. Someone asks, hey, you going to the rehearsal tonight? I'll be right here with you on stream. Paige Possu, thank you so much for the 5 Australian. I can see myself casting a televote for the UK this year for the first time ever. Please do. We're in such deep trouble. I'm really quite worried about us, actually. I just want it to go well. Oh dear. I really, really wanted this to work out, and I'm scared it won't. The clip made me worried. The thing is, as I've seen him sing the song live well, because it wasn't in the video, but he sung it when I went to do the video with him, and I played the piano and he sung the song, and he sounded great. So I know he can do it. Let's see. Still no news. I think they might have started now, but no one has said anything yet. And all we can do for now is wait. So we're just getting another little bit from ESC United. He's working in the office. He looks tired of his work. And then the dancers put him in a box. Okay. Before he jumps on the chair. He jumps on a chair, flips one of the tables, which then turns into his kind of keyboard, his decks and stuff, right? Apparently, it's extremely elaborate. Extremely elaborate. I'm told that I have the translated other messages from Khan, by the way, on Twitter. I'm looking in my Twitter right now. I can't see it, but obviously I want to show everyone that. Yes, indeed, it's the box thing still. To the person who said that they sent it to us, I'm checking my Twitter, but I'm not seeing it yet. We still haven't got news from my team for the UK yet, though, so there is still time. So, James from Eurovoix, he's not with Eurovoix anymore. James from ESC Insight says, it's a huge staging, a huge setup. We do love big props. A clever interactive start. He gets his own synth for the first chorus. He's walking on top in moving desks. He gets trapped in a box and more. Lots and lots of ideas. No coherence. So it's a mess. Is the short answer, which is okay. Attachment hidden. Accept the request to view. There we go. I'm having a look. They compared Lion Seeker to the snake in the Jungle Book. I don't really see the connection, but okay. Here we are. UK. This is from Cynthia. Has a shit ton of desks, like 12 of them. The dancers start wearing a 90s computer on their head and they're in suits. He's sitting at a desk in the back and the dancers are approaching him with lots of props. He's making his way through the office and then they have a box cage. So it's when he says the lyric about being in a cage. They bring out the synth prop for the first chorus and apparently, good news, his vocals are solid. Second verse, he's walking on the desk while they're being moved around on the main stage. He gets rolled around on them. Then we go into the rehearsal clip, which is the second one. And the dancers' heads are now furry and they have boiler suits. He hypes up the crowd a bunch. There's clapping and more hyping up. And then the final chorus comes down the catwalk. There are fireworks everywhere in the final chorus. And Cynthia says, so much more fun. The first part is definitely more fun than the rehearsal clip, and I hope the hyping up works. We are moderately back. We are moderately back. Just moderately. Look, Mum, not over. I stole that from someone in chat, sorry. Honestly, moderate satisfaction with the UK performance would feel like a massive triumph. So it's a yes from me. Congratulations, everyone. Someone tell Dan that you don't need to hide anymore. It's okay. Everything's all right. Manchester 2027, says Simon. Maybe not that. Someone says we are bzoderately back. Yes, I endorse this message. Ramsgate 2027, sure it is. So I'll try and get a couple more second opinions on this just so we can understand what people think. Here we go. And there's a little bit coming with Albania too soon, but we'll come to that in a moment. Any last comments on the UK? Doesn't seem like anything beyond what we already have. I think everyone has moved on because everyone is excited for Albania. GJ does say, this either lands with the audience or not, but I love the vision they've created. There we go. So some people have more positive feelings on it than others. So Albania is now, you've seen the intro already. It's like it is in the rehearsal clip. GJ said that he saw someone else who looked like a mother figure on stage, and they saw her walk on and off when they were going to the stage ready. So maybe there's a surprise planned. Let's see. We'll have news soon. They will be watching it right this very second. I mean, if he's actually brought his mum with him, that could be quite a good effect if it works well. But as of yet, no news. Just as a reminder, we are going live for the jury show in 3 hours and 25 minutes. So we'll have about a 3-hour break where I will eat, shower, and have a nap, and drink lots of lemon tea. And then I will come back here and we will spend the evening watching the show, and I will be telling you what's happening as it happens. Then afterwards, we will have the audience poll. We're going to be staying on until about midnight. That was when it was released on Monday. At midnight, local time. Thanks, Dan. I do always. I try my best. Midnight local time, so 11:30 in the UK. We will then show you the result. This was a big shot on Monday night where it showed a landslide win for Moldova. Let's see what people think tonight. I'm really curious to know what they see as their favourite. And you will see my sort of slow descent into madness. The good thing is that tonight, Jay will be here with me for the whole show. He doesn't have to leave early. He's not on audience poll duty tonight. But he will hopefully tell us before the show a little bit about what he saw this afternoon. I'm going to instruct him to have a coffee before. We are waiting for news about Albania. And hopefully I will have something to share with you very shortly, as I know people are typing as we speak. And I will just have a little look. Alice, Nan. Here we go. Albania. Starts with a woman on the back of the LED. He's singing in a flood of smoke. More people appear in the pre-chorus on the LED still. His mother appears on stage. And in the final moments, it's him and her reuniting before she walks away again. Emotional damage. Emotional damage. When the woman in white joins Alice, who's meant to be her mother, for the first time this season, and for the first time, she comes to him, she takes off his glasses, looks him in the eyes, and hands a watch to him. emotional damage. Neuro says, take me to Tirana, Alice. Thank you for the super chat. I am inclined to agree. No, I'm not. It's not going to win, but that sounds beautiful. That sounds like a really, really beautiful concept. I'm scared when I see this evening, it's going to make me cry. The first time I watched the music video, it made me emotional. The Malta performance is next. I don't know how much information we're going to get back because it's made for TV, basically, and you don't see very much of it from the crowd. But if you've already watched my Malta video, it's like that. You have these big arches, which we've seen in the photos and the clip. He moves around it. There's a spinning thing inside it. There are these gauze screens that look transparent, but you can put visuals onto. There's a kind of zoetrope effect that you'll see. And for those of you who don't know what a zoetrope is, I can show you. So let me just quickly look it up. Zoetrope. Because I'm in Austria, all the results are in Austrian. Not Austrian, German. What am I on about? Austrian. So, with thanks to whoever uploaded this to YouTube, there they are in the bottom corner. This is what a zoetrope is. So you get this effect where it looks like it's like an old style kind of moving image thing. Austrian German does exist, and we've had it before in Eurovision. The infamous Voci mit dein Popo being the best example of that. And I loved that song. Not sure anyone else did. Malta, your time is now. Aidan will be coming to the stage. It is a big prop, so it'll take a little bit of setting up. But it's very clever because it actually folds like IKEA flat pack furniture. So they roll it out and then they unfold it and connect it into a circle, which is quite clever. Someone asks, do I speak German? Yes, I do. Voci mit dein Popo was the best song of 2012. Lorraine wishes that she could be track shitters. That's all I'm going to say about that. And of course, let's not forget, and maybe I should show you this actually. For those of you who don't know, Voci mit dein Popo is a song, it translates as shake your ass, right? It represented Austria in the contest in 2012. Let me show you the results of the national final. And look who they beat. I'm enjoying all the people who only just found out about this now. Yep. So there you go. I have Jay typing now, so I suspect we may be about to get news about Malta. So let's be ready. I can't believe you guys didn't. That's like one of my favorite pieces of like deep Eurovision lore. All right. Cynthia says about Albania. In the second verse, we also get a top shot of him standing in the middle of a clock that's ticking. This is still Albania, by the way. And then she also mentioned the taking off the glasses with a close-up of the eyes. She says she had absolute goosebumps during Albania. Absolute goosebumps. Now about Malta, the giant prop is big. She expected it to be even bigger, actually, but it is very big. Top shot with the Maltese cross. It starts with a close-up and the camera goes around the prop. It lights up with sparkles in the first chorus. You've got the zoetrope I just told you about in the post-chorus. It looks really excellent on screen. And then you have the rotating that we've seen in the final one. Definitely made for TV rather than arena. So we've described this all on stream already. In my video I did a couple of weeks ago about Malta. I'll show you just in case you want to go find out more about this performance. You can. Let me get it up on screen just so I can point you in the right direction. You'll have a few hours to watch this in between the end of our stream and my video this evening. So, Firstly, make sure you watch this video later. It's coming out at 8 p.m. in Vienna, 7 p.m. in the UK. And that would then be, I guess, 2 p.m. in the US on the East Coast. This video, if you want to know more about Malta staging, 36 minutes. And it will tell you everything about this performance, every single detail. We cover everything. So this is something for you to watch between now and then. Moko Loka said, this is proof that Track Shitters would win in 2014. Yes, absolutely. Track Shitters would win every edition with 1,000 points. This is fact. So, we have one song remaining. And after that, I'm going to be taking a break. So, we will look forward to hearing the comments regarding Norway and see how his voice is doing today. This is the key thing. His voice needs to have recovered. I think they've kept him nice and quiet the last few days. It should be fine. But, fingers crossed. How long is the video? Can we see it before the stream? Yes. So the video is about 15 minutes and 20 seconds, and the stream starts at 8:30, so you've got 15 minutes to spare as well. So we are also looking to Norway now. We have one more to go. While we're waiting, I've just seen a little something that I want to show you, which I've just seen on Twitter, which is and for those of you, it's a cool thing about Satoshi's visuals. Let me find it. Here we are. So this is behind the scenes into creating Satoshi's visuals. And just in case any of you are wondering, it's all human made. So you can see they animated it like this. Just going to mute it because I don't know if this music is rights free. So it's all animated by a human being by hand. This is what love and care looks like. And so then you get that, and this is what you have then, the finished product. You get these kinds of things, all done by hand. And it just shows that's the standard, in my opinion. You have to do it by hand. Norway. We have some news from Norway. Sorry, that maxed out my microphone for a second. I didn't mean to jump scare you all with Norway. So, Norway. We're on to the final one of the show. Postcard. He's in an art gallery looking at different paintings, and at the start of the song, he walks onto the platform. This is like we've seen in the national final. Pretty much identical to the national final up to the second verse. Second verse, he looks into the camera at the bottom of the platform. That is the long platform that he stood on the main stage that we've already seen. He goes down onto the catwalk in the bridge, and then there's some small pyro in the final part. Good news, his vocals are fine. He's better now, he can do it. It's all good. So there we go. We have now completed this rehearsal. The interval acts we'll save for later because I very much enjoyed doing that live. And also they tend to escort all the media out now. With that, after 3 hours and 15 minutes, it is time for us to take a little break. Cynthia says, the chorus was just his female backing singers, so he's still holding back. Okay, so one of them is wrong. We will interrogate them about this later. Do not worry, and obviously we will see for sure. For now, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to go and watch the video I'm releasing this evening. Make sure to come back for the live stream at 8:30. It's such a pleasure, as always, to do this with you. And I will look forward to seeing you again later on. But for now, goodbye.